遊びに行って帰らない。で、特徴はキャラコンである。そして押すと回る。ラジオコントロールで動く。あ、そう。はい、じゃあここに住所を締め、そして母音に。キャラコンゴジラバンダイより発売中。キャラコン怪獣も続々登場。
出たシスコウルトラマンチョコ。
ズバリ賞
流星バッジがもらえるんだ。フラッシュビーム型ボールペンもあるよ。
シスコウルトラマンチョコレート新発売。
ゴジラ対キングギドラ。足型シール20枚で怪獣大図鑑がもらえるキングザウルスシリーズポピーより発売中。
Today on Collect All Monsters, it's spooky season, and we're going to be talking about the terrors of Tokusatsu. Hope you should watch and enjoy. Ikimashou!
Why, hello and welcome to Collect All Monsters episode 57. And yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. This is our big spooky episode for this spooky season. We haven't done a Halloween themed episode in a little while, I think. And today we're gonna be talking about the terrors of Tokusatsu, which are gonna be basically our top 3 sort of like horrific Tokusatsu venues, veins, etc. And wait, hang on, let's just switch these guys up here, and then that's our order for the show. We are gonna just go right into it because we're gonna do our show it and tell, followed by collectible news, followed by our intermission, and then come back with our segment Terrors of Tokusatsu. And yeah, we're gonna have a real blast today. We got a bunch of people watching already. We'll give our chat room check-in afterwards, or after our show and tell. But let's go ahead and get that going right now so everybody can see what we've gotten in the past month, if we have it. Now, Mr. Chambers, giving you the big seat, and take it away, dude.
Leslie. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another edition of Collect All Monsters. And I know the world is going through a lot right now with hurricanes ravaging the world and the turbulent political climate here in the United States, to say the least. But at least you can count on us, Collect All Monsters, as your safe haven. Come to us. We'll take you and we'll shield you from all that crap that's around the world for at least 2 hours, you know what I'm saying, to get your mind off of things. So thank you so much for being here. Now, normally I have 3 things to show, but I only got 2 things. And the reason for that is I got a couple of housekeeping things I want to do before I go into my items I want to show. First and foremost, we've had not 1, not 2, but 3 awesome birthdays since the last time we were together. First and foremost, our fearless leader, Kyle Young. He had a birthday on September 28th. Happy birthday, fearless leader.
Thank you.
Awesome dude. We're not going to tell you what he did that weekend. I don't think he remembers, if you get what I'm saying.
Eyeballs.
But again, happy birthday, fearless leader. 2 days later, no problem. 2 days later, September 30th, my beautiful wife Sandra had her birthday. Happy birthday, boo-boo! Love that woman. More on her in a few seconds. And like 5 or 6 days later, I had my birthday. The devil had his birthday.
Yeah, the devil's alive.
You know? I know.
No, we love you just the way you are.
Oh.
Just the way you are.
Throw that candle out.
Don't go change it, baby. We love you just
I
the way you
know. But it's
I love
all
you, Leslie.
good. And just yesterday, October 11th, 2024, my beautiful wife and I celebrated 10 years
Wow.
of us being married.
Wow.
10 years.
Congratulations.
Babe, I know you're watching. Hey, look, like I said during our prep, I know some marriages don't last 10 hours, let alone 10 days, let alone 10 years. So we're going strong. But Sandra, again, I love you so much. You have been, oh my God, you've been just such a blessing to my life. You have loved me through my highs, through my lows, through my faults, through my flaws. And the one thing about being married, she's my best friend. And one thing that you can say about best friends is that best friends are people that know everything about you, but they love you anyway. So that's why she is not only my wife. She is not only my partner in life. She is not only my ride or die. She is my best friend. She is everything to me. And the last 10 years have been nothing but great happiness and bliss. And it couldn't have happened without me seeing your beautiful face every single day. So, babe,
Oh,
I love you. I love you so much. So let me try to see. That's the mushy side of me you rarely get to see. But you know
the
what?
sofa beside.
You know what? The one thing that bring the evil out of me. Thank you, John. So I really appreciate that. Now we are back. We are back. We are back. Now before I go
Had to
to my show
remind
and
the people,
tell,
you know.
before I go my show and tell, let me ask one thing, because again, we're gearing down to Godzilla's 70th anniversary in just a few weeks. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? We are almost there. We are almost there to the king of the
Leslie.
monsters. Yes, sir.
I know who can actually feel it.
Who? Oh, oh yes, Godzilla. You know what? I wish I looked that good when I turned 70. I'm just saying. But we're almost there. We're almost there, folks. And I'm expecting something big to happen. Maybe a new movie announcement, not to mention the collectibles. But again, us Godzilla fans, my God, we are in for a real treat. Now, let me ask my co-host Mike Fest before we go any further. What was the last Godzilla thing that you saw, movie, TV show wise? And I guess we go in this order: Kyle, David, and Jonathan and John. What was the last Godzilla thing that you saw?
Ooh, I probably watched Shin Godzilla recently.
Really?
Yeah.
David, what about you?
Well, I've been sleeping on the couch because I've been coughing all night, and I put on Tubi, and I was watching a movie, and I fell asleep, and then I woke up to Godzilla versus Gigan.
Oh, you gotta love it.
That's like sort of like the universe was telling me at 3:45 a.m. I needed to watch some Godzilla versus Gigan before I could get back to sleep. So
Right.
that last night, there it is.
Get your life.
Yep.
Soul right.
Love it.
How about you, Jonathan?
Well, not surprisingly, Godzilla 1984 was the most recent one I watched.
All right.
I was feeling the spooky vibes. I wanted some spooky vibes, and I wanted something kaiju, so I chose that.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat it.
John, what about you? And let me guess, -1, right?
No. Every night I go to sleep to the audio of Son of Godzilla and Godzilla's Revenge. And
Okay.
That's
Ah,
interesting.
man.
I'm just overwhelmed by those movies right now.
Okay, I got you. The last thing I saw, it was actually while I was on my flight to our vacation that Sandra and I did last week. I actually put on Hail to the King.
Well, that's a great choice.
Yeah.
All back.
That's another thing that's celebrating 10 years this year. Oh my God.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Well, technically, I mean, that's 10 years of the trip, and then it didn't technically get released until a year later. But
Still.
But yeah, I appreciate you watching.
It's like -1 in 2023. And
Yeah.
And the weird, Godzilla 2005 versus 2004 kind of thing. It's time is fluid. What Doctor Who says, wibbly wobbly, tiny whiny.
Hopefully,
Right, right.
hopefully, there's a part 2 coming at some point. I'm just saying. But that documentary was so well put together. And again, I was on the flight and I was able to get up my Wi-Fi. Like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this, and just seeing everything that Kyle and David did is like, there are 2 things that that jump out at me when I watch that documentary. Even now, it puts a smile on my face. One makes me chuckle, but one puts a smile on my face. It's the interview that Kyle did with the actors. Akira Takarada, Tsuchiya-san, Akira Kubo, and the girl who played Kyokyo for Destroy All Monsters. And there's a point right, and there's a point during that conversation where, because they were kind of older, you know what I'm saying, and they were kind of reflecting, and it really dawned on them. They were all pointing at each other, because Kyle said, my favorite movie is Monster Zero. And then all of a sudden, Tsuchiya-san said, Kaiju Senso. And then Kyle said, Kaiju Senso. Then Tsuchiya-san was like, Kaiju Senso. Then Takarada said, Kaiju Senso. And it all dawned on them they were in the same movie together. Yep. So that, you know what I'm saying? Like, 3 of them were in Monster Zero, and 3 of them were in Destroy All Monsters. And it all just dawned on them at that moment. And it's like, I wish I could have been there, because I'd have been in the background crying like.
I actually was, Leslie. And one thing that you guys didn't see in the documentary is, I probably got cut out. There was a point where Kyle mentioned that to them, and they talked amongst themselves about being in that film together, and like, oh my God, we were. Like, they had a little bit of a thing amongst themselves, which was just like totally priceless for me.
Awesome.
Right. And speaking of cutting room floor, I'm sure it has to be there. Hopefully we'll get an uncut version of that documentary. But there's an early part in the documentary where Kyle comes across Brandon from Tokyo Toy fame, and they're in a park, and they just erected the legendary Godzilla 2014 statue before the movie came out in Japan. And I mean, of course, I didn't know Kyle then as I know him now, but when he's in the video, he's like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm sure right now he's like, okay, right. But I'm sure there's got to be some footage of when David walks to that park and he sees that thing. I bet you he's like, who took a dump in this park? Like, seriously, who took a big dump in this park?
No, it was all good.
No, it wasn't.
Actually, David was super well behaved.
I was,
and actually, that was really impressive. Like, it
was very impressive. It really was.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're talking about for people who maybe haven't seen the documentary is in 2014, in conjunction with the legendary Godzilla that came out, there was a giant bust statue in Roppongi Hills, and it was like in the park behind this one building, and it looked as if the green grass was the ocean and Godzilla was coming out of it. And it was the legendary Godzilla. But it was a little stylized almost, and it was pretty cool looking. And talking about uncut stuff, like, this won't actually ever come out as a as a bonus feature or anything, but while we were there, the dude who either maintained it or made it was there touching it up. I was like, my God, serendipitous, let's go interview him. And we shot like the most boring interview ever. It was like just this quick thing where he's like, yeah, I worked on it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, no good answers. And later on, Martin was like, I don't think I want to include this in the documentary, dude. I was like, it's understandable. But David was very, very well behaved and was not openly smack talking it.
You know why though?
Later on.
Honestly, it was very impressive to see it in the scale that it was in. If anything but that, it was huge. And it was actually, as Kyle mentioned, it was pretty stylized. So it didn't look really a whole lot like the one in the film. And it was actually a little bit more interesting design-wise, I thought. So, and I was just so overwhelmed and excited and grateful to be there. I mean, who's going to complain about anything at that point? So it was still, it wasn't my favorite part of the trip. I'm not going to lie, but it was definitely a component that I'm glad that I got to see. So.
It was right on the heels of us getting lost in Shinjuku as well, trying to.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yep.
Last thing I want to say real quick, just because we're talking about Hail to the King, and that actor interview is super duper special to me now because both Takarada-san and Tsuchiya-san have left this mortal coil, and like honestly, I'm bummed that they're both gone, but I'm happy that we were able to get some really great sound bites at the very least, but also just like a wonderful conversation from those two actors because they're no longer able to do interviews. But so that will forever be like a giant feather in my cap, and my cap of my heart, I guess I should say. Back to you, Leslie.
Yeah, but the point is, check out Hail to the King. It is still one of the best, if not the best, documentary when it comes to Godzilla ever. I'm not just saying it because they're my best friends and they're family to me, but it was well put together. And even 10 years now, everything just feels right when you watch it. So please, after watching this show, watch Hail to the King. Now, let me showcase two things before we get up out of here, at least before I take it over to put over to David. But I did get this several months ago. I didn't get a chance to show him on the show. But David, you know what? He really is impressive. And they're both X Plus figures. And the first one is the X Plus 30 centimeter Godzilla -1, the standard edition. Again, it's going to be tough this year between him, the Saibai 84, and the favorite sculptor's line. Hey, John, don't forget about the favorite sculptor's line 95. Like, don't forget about him.
I don't know about that one, but the Saibai don't play around.
Yeah, so between these three, it's gonna one of these three is gonna take it. Now, don't sleep on Baragon or the issue of Shin or whatever, but this thing is really impressive. I think it's probably the best CGI character the S Plus has ever done. The detail
I agree with you.
is great. And sometimes when I look at it, I love it so much. But also sometimes I feel regret because I do want the blue, of the red, but standard is also still cool. It's still a great piece, you know what I'm saying?
Beautiful.
So very, very, very awesome. And you've not heard the last of -1 when it comes to me on this show. Now, finally, and I can't bring this kaiju up without thinking a song that's attached to this kaiju. So I'm gonna try to do my best. I'm not Whitney Houston, so don't come for me in the comment section. Okay. Jochi, 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 kaiju gappa, gappa.
Wow, that's fabulous.
The famous sculptor's line, 30 centimeter Gappa or Gappa. How the hell you say it?
Gappa doesn't get enough love, man.
No, it does not.
I agree.
Wow.
Great. Thanks to John Z. I really
What a great pose. What a great pose.
Yeah, it's a great pose. And again, this is from the favorite sculptor's line from the Kaiju Freaks line that made the Godzilla versus Ebra set. The favorite sculptor's line Varan, and I think ain't the Rodan 56? Ain't that our favorite sculptor's Kaiju Freaks?
It is. No, that's it. Yeah, I think it is. Yes.
Okay, but Gappa, this is the adult Gappa, and it's the daddy Gappa because of the sharp horn. The mama Gappa had a softened horn, but this guy looks great. I'm gonna post a picture on our collectors group, Monster Collectors group tomorrow. You can actually, if you got a couple like old stands from X Plus figures that you're not using, like tail stands, you can actually position him in a flying pose. But you know what I'm saying, like this.
That is the flying pose. That's right. That's cool.
But you know what, Gappa, it's a cool movie, even though it's a retread of Gorgo. But I do love the design of Gappa. Basically, it's just a fusion of Rodan and Godzilla. That's really all it is. But Gappa is such a memorable movie. And I remember the first time I watched it. And John, I think you understand where I'm going with this. It's a great movie, or it's a cool movie if Gorgo didn't do it first. But that kid,
Gappa angry. Gappa angry.
When I first watched it, I'm like, okay, is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing? We do have a short list when it comes to African American representation in these movies. So I guess you can add him onto the list along with the pimp from Final Wars. Bernie from the MonsterVerse, and the guy with Tourette syndrome from Gamma versus Jagger. You know that dude. You know, but yeah, that kid. Soul Brother #1. Yeah, sure is. But this is a great piece. And guess what? It didn't cost a house mortgage like the first one did. You know what I'm saying? But
I love it.
such a great piece. And again, I'll post the flying pictures of this thing on our group tomorrow.
Please do.
Please check it out.
Leslie,
Yes, sir.
you forgot the kid from Godzilla vs. Megalon, or at least the English dub.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of complexion, again, when I saw that kid from Gappa, I was like, Again, at first I thought my TV was too dark. I'm like, no, it can't be that. But then they had him in daytime scenes. I'm like, no, that paint ain't washing off. He is the way he is.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Well, again, if we got Bernie from the MonsterVerse, I can handle that kid from Gappa. But again, thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for being long-winded, but I'm just excited to be back on this awesome show of Collect All Monsters. I'm gonna kick it over to my main man down in Southern California, the one and the only David Eric Dopko. What's going on, David?
Hey guys, thank you. I agree 1,000%. That's the figure of the year for me. For my money is the X Plus. So good in person. If you guys have it in person, it's spectacular. And then I don't know how I missed the GOP. I told that completely, like, it eluded me. I remember remembering that it was actually out there for like a short time. But that's something that will be on my radar for the future. But anyway, so I want to start off by saying I had COVID, you guys know, probably about a month and a half ago. And it got better, and then I got this cough that sort of progressively got worse and escalated over the last couple of weeks so bad that I had to go to urgent care a couple of times to get a CT scan. Everything seems to be okay. However, it's keeping me up at night, and I'm exhausted, and I know I look terrible, not at my best. My energy level's a little bit lower, but the show must go on. I have to come on and hang out with you guys, especially in October. So forgive me for that. And if I reach a point where I cough so much that I can't hold a conversation, I'm going to have to bail. But I'm just giving you all like fair warning for that. And again, I'm going to do my best to get through it. And hey, this might be the only show in Collect All Monsters history where I'm short-winded instead of long-winded. So enjoy that, everybody. So I'm dealing with some collector's conundrum issues. By the way, I enjoyed doing that series like wholeheartedly with you guys, and I hope you viewers enjoyed it as well. So my conundrum now is, I'll get into that in a second. We have a huge backyard project that's costing a lot of money, and we're really putting a lot of time and money into this, so I can't justify spending tons of money on collectibles right now. So my conundrum is I have a queue of things that I want to get, and I have to prioritize one or two things to get and not feel like I'm overdoing it and like overdoing things for the budget. So this is the first Collect All Monsters episode where I have nothing new to show for last month, and it's kind of freaked me out a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two things that I have that are sort of Halloween-esque, and then I'm also going to show Kyle's going to show you a picture of something that's coming soon that is really cool. So without further ado, I'm going to show you this cool Sofubi figure that I got from Helmi Abdad. He picked this up for me at one of the shows, and he got one for himself too. And I'm a little bit out of it today, so I can't even remember the maker, but it's maybe Helmi or Kyle can help me out. Looks clearly a yokai coming out of a lantern.
I can't remember who made that either.
Because it came in like a plastic tube, and I lost the packaging. It's in a box somewhere. But anyway, I can't really see it that well, but it's freaking amazing. It's a spirit yokai coming out of a lantern, spirit lantern, and I absolutely love it. So perfect for Halloween. Very cool. Then the second thing is something that I've showed you guys already. It is the X Plus glow in the dark Frankenstein model kit in the long box, sort of paying homage to the old Aurora kits from the 60s and 70s. And the Aurora kits are what got me started on all of this model building. So
awesome,
it's really special. And of course, I haven't built it yet. but I love it. I love it. I love it. And got to build that soon. So Kyle, do you want to show the image of what's coming soon? This is super special, and I'm really excited to get this. It wasn't very easy to get. It was from 2024's Winter Wonderfest. It is the Hashimoto Resin Odo Island Dancer model kit.
Awesome.
How cool is that? It is
Absolutely.
like something that maybe G and X Plus will release on their Toho Maniacs line.
Absolutely.
But it's 1/8 scale, about 30 centimeters, and it stands a little over 12 inches tall when completed.
Incredible.
So I think I'm going to do it just like this. The sort of statue patina look like Kyle did his awesome Varan that he showed on the show a few times. So I think this is exactly how I want to do it. My only other choice is maybe doing it in black and white, because that's the way we all saw it in the film and the way we still see it. So these are the things that I am going to be seeking these days in my current state, in my collecting journey, things that are really special that I don't have any representation of, and that you don't see every day. So I'm very, very excited. It should be coming like within the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic.
So I will
Very
definitely keep you all posted on the model building progress, and I'll show it off on the next show. Whether it's finished or not, I'll show you the kit. So that's about as far as I can go without coughing. So I'm going to pass it down to my buddy Jonathan Portman. Actually, up to him in Southern California, but a little further up in the LA area. So Jonathan, take it away, buddy.
Thanks, David, and hope you're feeling better, man.
Thank you so
hello,
much.
everybody. It's good to be back here. It's been a minute. So I did make a post about this probably last month, or maybe it was even a couple weeks ago. I don't know. Time for me is totally out the window right now. Time just flies by. So without further ado, the thing that I actually got this in the mail, and from my older brother, and it was quite a surprise. But I was very excited to get these. This is a callback of nostalgia to my childhood, and we have the Trendmasters 40th anniversary special color version set.
Nice.
Now, this isn't everything, but there's a few of them. I lost some of them over time. Now, what happened was when I think in 2007, before I moved out to California, my nephew at the time was just a baby, and he was getting into dinosaurs, and I was getting rid of stuff, and I needed to be light for my trip. I was going cross country, and I gave him a lot of my old Godzilla Trendmasters figures because I was like, look, you can play with these, you can have fun with them. And he totally ran with it, loved it. But then they were passed down to my nieces, and now they're a little too old for them. So my brother packed up what he could find and sent these back to me. My number one favorite one has always been the Anguirus.
Yeah, it's cool.
The teal and the blue and the purples here are just striking. I love the colors. And this one, I always loved them when I was a kid. And it is kind of funny how he's jacked up.
Yeah, exactly.
He's definitely been doing a lot of great workouts apparently. So he needs to, after what he did against Gigan and Ghidra, he needs to do a little push-ups and stuff. But anyway, we got this sort of
bronze
Mecha G.
Yeah, it's nice.
We had not my favorite, but a cool little slick Mogra here. And we have a really, really cool lime green and purple Biolante, which is kind of neat. Apparently has actual, thighs and legs. You really don't see him in the movie, but. And then we have a Gigan here. I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to do a moonwalk or something. I don't know. But this is a black and sort of blue. Maybe this was sort of a precursor to my black and blue collection and my soft vinyl collection. But nonetheless, very cool thing that I was very surprised to get, and I was very happy to get. Thank you to my older brother Chris for sending these back to me in good condition. He was very worried that they weren't going to get here in good condition. But and I forgot to show this Batra too. I always love this Batra.
Oh, that's fierce.
Hey,
Jonathan,
that's
pretty cool.
Show off that Angulus again. I want to do a comparison here. So I always thought that the jacked up Angulus looked like when he looked in the
That's right.
Yeah, right.
That's
right. As a kid, I wonder if that inspired them.
You know what's
You've
interesting?
You gave them way too much credit, guys. No, no. They just had no idea what Angulus looked like. That's what it was. Come on now.
Well,
Don't try to justify that.
We must do the research.
I'm serious though.
You know what?
I know that what Trendmasters did, a lot of times they sort of took a lot of liberties, but they did a lot of like looking at the source material and reinterpreting it, and that's not always a win.
Like if you look at
Reinterpreting is the word,
Baragon,
yeah.
if you look at Baragon, clearly Baragon, he kind of has the same build here, but you could clearly tell they did a little bit of research because he has the trademark ears and he has a sort of snout, but he just looks like he's like, I call it's the era of like mutated like dinosaurs and animals. Like you had the street sharks around that time, you had dino saucers, you had all these like humanoid anthropomorphic creatures, right? And this is, I feel like they were trying to go with the same deal here with the Trendmasters Godzilla line. Of course, a lot of them were based on the Heisei era movies, and you didn't really see those. They weren't in America yet, and I hadn't seen anything of them, so it was kind of cool to see like Space Godzilla come out and like Godzilla. I was like, "Where are these from?" And then all of a sudden, I see the Godzilla. I see Barry's Temple of Godzilla. These little gifs, these little 3-second gifs of like the Heisei movies and the battles, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh no, they use these as reference. Like, oh my god, I need to see these. And so that was like my only way of referencing the Heisei era. So to me, that was why Trendmasters was so special, because it was like my link to those movies in some way. I could reach them and touch them, but also I could play with them. And I was just waiting for one day where we could finally see them, you know? Nick, yes, the Angulus. I'm with Kyle. I always called him Angulus. Just always thought
Me
that,
too.
you know,
I'm Angulus too.
Angurasu, you know, it's like the sort of
That's
Japanese,
how I am. I'm the same way.
English sort of, but you know, Angurus, I guess, is how you technically say it. But
Angulasu.
I'm always going to be an Angulus guy, you know.
Me too.
Just like I'm
That's
always
okay.
a Ghidra guy. I'm always a Ghidra guy. Sometimes I slip, but I'm always going to be a Ghidra guy. Anyway, that's my show and tell. Very much a nostalgic trip down memory lane. And so without further ado, let's go down to my good friend, John Ruffin. John, what do you got for us, Mr. Icon of Mr. Library?
I'll try a little library. Good to be with you guys again with Christine's absence. Hope she's doing well, having a great day. Good to be back. It's good to be a little cooler. Leslie, it's good to glad you're back. And David, you know, we're praying for you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Good
much.
stuff. I've been on a hiatus.
So you only have 13 things. I'm on a hiatus, but I only have
Only
13 things today.
No, I'm on a hiatus. We're gonna try to make another trip back to Japan in a couple weeks for Godzilla Day with Alex. We'll be going together.
Alex Sawyer, right?
Yes, Alex Sawyer. Yep.
That's cool.
It should be fun. With that said, I'm trying not to buy anything. I do have some things that came through, and some things, you know, finally arrived. You know, you see it, everyone in Japan with their stuff. Jaguar came.
Oh, okay.
It's really nicely done. Very nicely done. Comes with extra accessories. Comes with a little Jaguar and all that. Very nice. Very nicely done. Nice small package too. SHMA seems to be tightening up their budget. Oh, something else. Because it's like Matrix. Thank you, Leslie.
Okay.
Hook up. Yeah, I don't have much of a Godzilla comic book collection except the old Marvel collection. So thank you. I appreciate
Nice.
it.
No problem, man. No problem at all.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? I have a couple that I'll do a giveaway on the show in the future. So
Awesome. Yeah, really. So I appreciate that. They're wonderful. A couple other cool things I was gifted. Was the Sakai Godzilla 92, excuse me, I say 93. 92 worked on the art.
That's
For
amazing.
that. And X Plus North America.
Oh, you get
Godzilla
Imperial.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes. I had the privilege of doing the box art for this one too. So
Nice.
this was fun.
David, we saw that live at Monsterpalooza, didn't we?
did.
We saw it on display.
We certainly saw it on
yeah,
display.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't think I'll ever open it up just because to keep the art intact. But that was a great get.
Nice,
And one
nice.
last thing, something that I've wanted for a long time, and I have kind of like the kin that kind of comes after it. This is, and David will appreciate this. This is the old Max Factory.
Oh
Oh,
wow!
Goji.
Yep. Yes, I had that. I
Wow.
had it.
Isn't
One of the
that
first
nice
kits I've ever
reflections
built.
on the TV?
I think that's
Isn't that
number
great?
3, the third kit I've ever built in my life.
Really?
Godzilla kit. Yep, Sofubi kit.
I always wanted this, but I couldn't find it.
Soft
And-
Final kit.
Yes, all final kit, and I just love the box design. And it's just a great. It's just class. I wanted it more for the box than necessarily, but it's a beautiful,
It looks like
beautiful.
it's in great
And
shape,
it
dude.
comes with
Soft Final
a Super X too. Also,
Oh, is a Super X in there?
There is Super X, and there should be.
I think you're right. See, I have the Gito Goji.
Yeah, that comes
with the
but it's still.
the
I
kid.
think it still comes with a Super. Oh no,
Oh,
does
I
it
gotta
come
bust
with it?
this out.
I don't know.
Yeah, it says it now. No, you said it's right here. Super
Yep,
X miniature.
Super X. Yep. Even though
Yeah,
it's the
I didn't
wrong-
even know that.
And
Oh.
I got mine, John, in Chinatown in New York City on Mott Street, and it's a shop called Waku Trading, and I think it was like $37.
Wow,
I know. I
Wow.
still the box
That's-
is somewhere. I could not throw the box. So it has a price tag on it. It's
what a
$37.99.
great price.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's
37.
nice to have this with the Gito Goji by Max Factory.
Outstanding. It's a great,
Yeah.
it's a great build up too. It's really nice when it's built up.
And if I
Hiatus,
just
huh?
one last thing, I went over the limit, but I just
Hiatus,
think,
huh? Interesting.
ooh, no, you just have to see it. How about the old classic?
Oh, Hokusai Wave.
Yes,
oh, I love
man.
that.
Wow, that's
Where'd you
very
get
cool.
that? I love that. That's
Yeah,
cool as hell.
I couldn't resist. It's pretty dope. 3-dimensional.
That is
That's-
really cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
isn't it?
Yeah, I have like a teeny tiny version, like a Gashapon version of that.
I
But
love
that's,
that.
That's
Yeah.
I will
badass,
say,
dude.
John, you get things that I get inspired. I'm like, maybe I should get that. Like every time I see you with something, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That could go cool on like a bookshelf or a display
Exactly. Bookend, anything.
in the
yeah.
office. Yeah.
So John's biatuses are different. Is a different definition than the rest of our biatuses.
Yeah, I don't know if John really qualifies
You
bias
know-
as that.
No,
cool
they-
term.
No,
It's a
I
limited
know.
supply.
I know. Those are things that were
run.
already on pre-order. I understand. I know
That's
how it
what- yeah,
goes.
yeah,
know
I
how it
really-
goes.
And there's things I want to pre-order that I just have to wait till after the trip.
Conundrum.
And hopefully the King's Shisha statue won't come out on us.
Please, not till
It's
next year.
not
Not till
yet.
next year. Not till next
Right.
year.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's it. Kyle, back to you. What do you have to show us? What's
Oh
the
man.
show
Okay,
in
so
the-
number one, you guys can see my my room is basically back together. A little messy.
Woohoo.
It's just I was telling John
good.
that like yesterday or day before yesterday is when I finally got my lights back up and running in my closet, and then
Oh,
I
good.
could like that was a contingency. I couldn't do anything else until I had those lights in, and then I could put the shelves back in, and then pepper in the giant monster toys. And so the room's a little bit of a mess right now, but the whole time that this was a mess in here. Let's see, what are we're mid-October now, so a month ago I was gearing up. Well, a month ago is when we had the wallpaper redone, but right after that Lady Kyle was like, hey, we need to celebrate your birthday, so we did a bunch of stuff on my birthday celebration wise. Lots of fun at night. And actually, I do remember what
Red
I
light
did on my
district,
actual
red light
birthday.
district action.
But you know, one night we went out to a yakitori place and had a bunch of drinks, and then went karaokeing. This is all locally here in our neighborhood. Helmy's watching live. Helmy and I went to that same yakitori joint, which was totally fun. Now, another thing I did was I went to Toys R Us here in Ikebukuro in Tokyo, and we went to Ikebukuro for sort of like for Lady Kyle, like to get something for her friend, and then I was like, oh, let's go to Toys R Us because it's right here, and
Might as well.
oh my gosh, I was not expecting to get stuff, but I got like the finger puppets, like little
Oh, yeah.
blind bog finger puppets, and then I'm gonna stick to the 3. I got you can't see him, but I got a little Garamon plush, maybe about this big, because I was not expecting there to be like cool ultra plushes, but look at this guy.
No.
This
No.
big
Oh no.
Gavin A.
Okay, that. Oh, I want one of
The
those.
best.
That is adorable.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love Gavadon A million times more than Gavadon B.
Absolutely.
And like I basically when we yeah, let me hold him tight.
Oh, I need
when
him.
I can hear.
yeah, right. When we were at at the store, we basically turned this one corner, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, look at the plushes!" And Lady Kyle was like, "Oh my gosh, I love that Red King." So she got a little Red King plush, and then I saw this thing, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I had to get it. So
That
yeah.
is adorable.
Okay,
This
that
makes up
is-
for the fact that I used to have a small, like, I think it was made by Ben Presto, but it was like sort of a sizable Ben Presto figure of Gavadon A that I stole with my collection back in America. So now I got this guy. He's gonna
That's
live up
so
here
cool.
on top of the window.
Oh, Johnny, you're wrong for that. You're wrong for that, Johnny.
Yeah, John, this is a PG show, my friend. This is a PG
dude.
show, my friend.
Wow, man.
Okay? We're a family show.
First up, it's imagined by children, so you just check yourself, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny.
I'm not going to go in chronological order here of how I got these things, but the next item, and actually, if anybody is familiar with what happened at the end of the month, in addition to my birthday, it was also time for another Godzilla store stream where they announced a bunch of cool stuff, and the stuff was like immediately available. So I actually went to the Godzilla store and got myself the flying Mechagodzilla from Bandai.
Oh, you got that. Nice.
So
Looks awesome. I was like watching the stream one morning. I think it was the morning after it streamed. Lady Kyle came down and I had it on, playing it at like double speed on YouTube. And I was like, this thing came on screen and I was like, ooh, they did a flying Mechagodzilla. And I have a whole bunch of flying kaiju that will eventually be hanging up in my shelves again. And I was like, you know what? I think I need that. I think I need that Mechagodzilla because
I like that.
the one that Maro-san made looks pretty much exactly like this. Like it's very realistic in terms of a Sofubi piece. So very happy to have this in my collection. And then last but not least, just like kind of shuffle it down here. So it's
kind
not
of saw it a little bit. It's okay.
one of the things that we did. If you check out my Instagram at KaijuCast, you can see that I've been going to see Godzilla statues that are around. So I went to Setagaya, to the Setagaya Literary Museum, and saw the 2000 that's not just a statue, that's actually the suit that's on display in Setagaya. And there's stuff around. But one of the ones that I've always wanted to go to, and I've never been able to find, or not being able to, but never ventured out to find it, is this 84 statue that is it is in, do I even have the paper here? I feel like I do, but maybe I don't. Anyway, I'm not going to search for it right now, but basically it's in the Japan Natural History Museum, or the History of Japan Museum. It's in Sakura City here in Chiba, where the prefecture I live. And they've got this 7-foot tall Godzilla 84 on display in Gallery 6, which is like obviously one of 6 galleries that they have inside of the museum. The museum is freaking beautiful and beautifully huge and just easy to walk through. It's packed with information. Lady Kyle and I went around noon and we were like, yeah, let's go to the museum, find Godzilla. And then we got there and we're like, this is so awesome. We spent like an hour and a half just going through the first gallery.
Wow.
And then we got in between the Gallery 1 and Gallery 2, and we were like, there's no way we're going to be able to get through all of these other galleries. And so I got a bunch of pictures. I'll probably like post them in the group or something like that. But basically, Gallery 1 is all about like prehistory Japan stuff, the Joban era and stuff. And then Gallery 2, it just keeps going. And then Gallery 4 is a folklore and cultural heritage gallery. So there's a bunch of yokai stuff and festival atmosphere type displays. It's a really, really wonderful museum. David, we went to the Edo Tokyo Museum together, right?
Which was overwhelmingly amazing.
Yeah. This, I have to say, rivaled that museum.
Did it really?
Why? It's so much larger. So basically, we realized we needed to finish what we already got through Gallery 1. Gallery 2, we were just going to skip 2 and then 3. go straight to Gallery 4, which was the folklore thing, so we could see the yokai stuff. They have like
Of
a Kappa
course.
statue, like really
Oh
cool.
no! How cool is that?
And then Gallery 5, thankfully, in a sense, was closed for redoing displays. But Godzilla's in Gallery 6, so we basically went from Gallery 4 to Gallery 6. And Gallery 6 is all about Japan's, I'm not going to say pop culture, but like modern era culture stuff. So starting, I think, in the 30s, going through the 70s, that's what this whole gallery covers. And Godzilla's right at the end. Beautiful statue of Godzilla. It's beautiful because it's big and it's got like sort of a diorama kind of with it. It looks really cool. So again, it's in my Instagram within the last like 5 photos, I think. And then I'm getting to a point here. Then we go to the gift shop. And we saw the gift shop before, and I was like, oh, cool, let's pick up some cool stuff, thinking like, oh, I'll get like a little hand towel or washcloth or some buttons or something like that. And as we're walking through the gift shop, I was like, I need that. And this is what they had.
Oh, yay. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful.
A Dream Planet produced
Dream Planet.
Godzilla fin. Bronze
Yeah.
coloration on it. And it's
Awesome.
like, this is classy AF, guys. Like,
Yes, it is.
Actually, like this, I saw this and I needed it immediately. I was like, birthday, I'm getting that. And it was, I don't know, like maybe $150 or something
Not
like
bad.
that. If you
That's
do the
great.
conversion.
It's really cool.
It is beautiful.
So
Yeah,
do
I'm
do
very
we
happy
know,
with it.
Kyle, what year Godzilla suit
It's
that is
Heisei,
from?
baby. It's gotta be Heisei.
No,
It is Heisei. Yes, I do. Here's the, I think it's the
Nice.
92,
Yeah,
93, 92.
Wow.
Outstanding.
And so they made,
Yeah.
these are the different points that they make.
Mhm.
So sorry for the shaky hands, but I got L1, which is
Awesome.
that one up top. But
Oh,
they also
okay.
make a
I did research
C2
Oh,
on
that's so
this
cool.
and an
Let me check them
L5.
off.
So you even got the number of the dorsal plate. That is so cool.
Yeah, and then also
Wow.
they do claws too. So they had a couple of bronze claws as well, or they had one of the bronze
That's
claws.
rad.
Stoked
Man.
to have this in my collection.
Man.
Love this stuff.
That's awesome, man.
I think,
Congratulations,
remember,
what
I
a
wanted to
birthday
get one of
present.
these from G-Fest, like
That's
the
rad.
last year that I went to G-Fest, and I was like, if they're there, I am getting one of the fins. And Dream Planet was there, but they didn't have any of the fins or any
Wow.
of the claws
Yeah, they
available.
can be very
That-
pricey.
that's a
Incredible.
great birthday present, I think.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. And also, what I will say is, in addition to this, like I said, we did a whole bunch of stuff during the week. I went to, and it was actually like a week plus, technically speaking. 'Cause we started on Sunday before my birthday and went all the way through Sunday of the next week. I went to Super Festival and picked up some stuff. You could see right back here is one of my new GMKs that I got. Also, a couple of little yokai guys. I should post those online too. But I had to bail from Super Festival real fast because the reason I'm wearing this Jinbei is it's also secondary Matsuri season right now, festival season here in Japan. And I
Nice.
went to Funabashi, where Jamie lives, our buddy Jamie.
Oh, cool.
And we went to the festival there, which was freaking huge and so fun and so good. And then after that, like the next week or so, we went to the one in another nearby town called Matsudo. And then yesterday, our hometown had its own Matsuri. So like this is I'm in Matsuri festival season wear and also festival season brain. So
Sugoi.
let's move along from the
Very
show
cool.
and tell, and let's celebrate our viewers. We got 23 people watching right now.
Awesome.
Man, can I say that better? We have 23 people watching right now. And I think if Jonathan and Leslie are ready, I'm going to blow him up, and we're going to do our collectible. Nope, that's called chat room check-in.
All right, let's speed through this thing. All right, we got Nathaniel Plummer, Helmy, as always, John Drain, Johnny Coke, Michael Hang, MW. I love how you spelled that too. David, your better half. Keith is in there. Rated M, GMK Lover. That's Sandra. So thanks, babe. Love you.
Oh, hey, what's up, Sandra?
Yeah. So Tim Bartos, Robert DeCenzo, Andre Steele. Let's see who else. Alex Sawyer. Again, he's going to Japan with John in a couple weeks. John, while you're on the trip, please convert him to the Mosu Goji side. I know he's a hater, but if you can do that for me and David, that way we won't punch him in the face next time we see him. Please do that. Let's see, Ray 2D2. Let's see who else. Fancy for Cats and the Gregzilla. So that's pretty much all I see. Oh, Kevin Wan. Sorry that I missed you. But yeah, thank you so much. Nick Size, yeah. So that's it.
Calvin.
Thank you, folks.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Thanks
you for
everybody.
watching.
Thank you for hanging out.
We love you guys.
Now, typically, what we do on the show is I forgot to tell you guys at the top of the show. Jonathan here is producing and co-hosting this time because we don't have Christine with us. She is jetted off to some international locale and abandoned Collect All Monsters for the month. Why?
It don't matter.
Yeah, Leslie doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
Leslie's like, yeah.
She's in Fresno. She's in Fresno in a brewery.
But we are
somewhere.
going to jump right into our next segment, our collectible news.
I'm so sorry. I'm still laughing. What am I covering? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Just when you have those moments when you just laugh uncontrollably, that's what happens when you're, doing what you do. But what I want to talk about is, again, X Plus. In the most recent Super Festival, they showcased the next Godzilla -1, Godzilla 2023 they're doing, and it's from the 25 centimeter line, the Toho large or giant monster series. And this thing looks cool, you know what I'm saying? And the Rick option it's not going to be blue painted dorsal plates like the 30 centimeter, but it's going to come with the alternate head, or closed mouth head, I should say. So basically, if you're all in the -1, like I know a lot of y'all are, if you missed out on the 30, then try and track down the 25 centimeter, and it's going to come out, I want to say January of next year. So they're starting off the year right with this awesome rendition of -1. And John, let's do the math on this one. X Plus, they already covered a 30 centimeter, a Defo Real, basically a favorite sculptors line, a products line. Now we're doing a 25 centimeter. That means there's only one, well, actually two more. But you know what one that I think they should make next? A gigantic -1.
Yeah.
You know we're gonna get it at some point.
At some point, yes.
You know we're gonna get it. So
Yeah.
this is, in a way, this 25 centimeter is confirmation that they will do like a gigantic at some point. I mean, they have to. They have to.
Absolutely.
So, but if you're all in a -1, and if you got your hands on the Defo, the 30 centimeter, you can get the favorite products line coming at the end of the year. Might as well go for 4 for 4 and get yourself the X Plus 25 centimeter Godzilla -1. And that's all I want to talk about in my new segment. And speaking of -1, we're not done. Let's see what David Dopko has to say.
We are definitely not done, and let's keep that Godzilla -1 train rolling right on to the station. So this is a beautiful rendition of the -1 suit representation by KOC in their 28 centimeter series. It's a resin model kit, volume 2. And the total height is approximately 28 centimeters, which is kind of nice that it's not really big. It'll fit better into our collections. It's got a very dynamic pose, which I absolutely love. And I don't have any confirmation that this is going to be pins and magnets like their other releases, like their larger releases, but I'm praying that it is, because I definitely need to add this to my collection, because to me, this, not having seen it in person just from these prototype images, it is the quintessential -1 representation that I can see so far. and I can't wait to hopefully eventually build and paint this. I'm a little bit concerned about the eyes because the eyes are so nuanced in this particular incarnation, but I'll work on it, or I'll send it out to Greg Betters. I'll send the headpiece out to Greg Betters if I can't figure it out. But anyway, it's 53,000 yen, including tax and shipping, and that boils down to about 355 American dollars.
That's not bad.
The orders are available on the KOC homepage, but you have to have a Japanese address. Has to be bought from Japan, and we need help on that for a couple of people who want to get one. And the orders, it's available right now. You can pre-order it right now if you have some assistance. And it says stock time end of December to January, and I interpret that as it's going to be shipped in December or January, or it'll be in stock until December or January. I'm not sure which, but either way, if you're a fan of the -1 design, this thing looks absolutely amazing. And if it's even half as good as Akira Ibaraki's other sculpts, it's going to be like the jewel of your -1 collection. So, and that's about all I can say without coughing. So, Jonathan,
KOC always killing it. Well, guys, I've got something that is, we're on the nostalgia train. I talked about Trendmasters earlier, surely enough. And this one, I'm not so sure I'm going to get it, but I'm very excited about this, that they're actually releasing this, because I myself was a big fan of this when I was a kid. And without further ado, so X Plus is going to be releasing their 30 centimeter series Bagen.
Yeah.
Now, this is from, as you guys may know or may not know, from the 1993 Super Nintendo game, Super Godzilla. And Bagen is the final boss of the game. In the game, you fight as Godzilla, and you're going through and you're fighting various kaiju from the series. It's mostly from the Heisei, but you also have Showa Mechagodzilla in there. And you have Mecha King Ghidorah, and you have Ghidorah. And then at the end, you go to fight Bagen, and you get completely trounced. You get destroyed. And so then you get souped up with this liquid energy. It's got like a pseudo steroid essentially. But you get like all this energy build up, and you become Super Godzilla. And then Super Godzilla can now equally fight Bagen. So this figure is 35 centimeters tall and 56 centimeters in length. And it retails for 38,500 yen. That's about $258.17 roughly, or give or take, tax here and there. It can be pre-ordered with a buy option. It's releasing in January 2025. And this figure is also now up on X Plus Japan US and Godzilla US store for pre-order.
It's amazing. It's beautiful.
I just love it. I mean, look at that thing.
Yeah, it's
in hand, very detailed. And it's funny, David, we had this conversation a while back. You had said it kind of looks like very inspired by Destroya. And I would say the quite opposite. I would say that Destroya was inspired by Bagen, because Bagen was an OG concept back when it was supposed to be a Mothra enemy, back in a Mothra conceived Mothra solo movie, but they decided to veer away from that. Then you had Mothra come in with Godzilla and Batra for 92. So Bagen was kind of, put on the shelf, but then they said, hey, we haven't used this thing. Let's use it in the video game. We have a video game coming up where he fights a bunch of monsters. And then from there, it just kind of took on a life of its own with the fans, at least ones that are, from my era who played the game. So I'm very, very excited for this. And I can't wait to see who gets it. Can't wait to see who's posting it.
That's awesome.
Now, with further ado, I'm going to kick it down to my guy right here from Philly, PA, Mr. John Russell.
Connection.
What do you got? What do you got, John?
Well, before I talk about my little news piece, I just got a copy of the Super Nintendo Super Godzilla from RetroCon about a month ago now. So,
love it.
Yes, so it's nice to see the stills. I don't know if I can still play it. The game works. It does work, but I don't know if my system will work for it. But with that said, this how can I do? Cool, very interesting new thing Toho has. A Toho Monsters kit. Kits were announced on Godzilla channel a few Sundays ago now. And there's these awesome small model kits. The Godzilla's 5.5 inches, and Mecha Godzilla is 6.3 inches.
That's pretty cool, John.
Yeah, they're pretty dope. A lot of model kits, coming. Plastic model kits. These, not so.
You're right. Plastic model kits are having a resurgence of late.
Yeah,
and it's really good because the price points are
Yes.
much more affordable than these resin pieces and some of the soft vinyl pieces.
It takes me back to 1984, seeing the Tokusatsu collection.
That's right.
Those old memories. These are you can get these on Godzilla.com for $35 each.
Oh, wow.
Which is very affordable.
These
Now,
look really nice.
Yeah, they're fabulous. They look very much like the X Plus, 30 centimeter, of course, corresponding figures. With that said, I was asked to do the box art.
Oh, fantastic.
A few months ago. So I want to thank Jeremy Souls, Matsubata-san, a special thanks for his patience, Toho, G-san, X Plus. Oh, wow, what a challenge. It really stretched me, but it was mission accomplished. And also had to create the TMK logo. That's in the top right corner as well. So that was a task. Sometimes you may not see me. I might be working on something. It took some hours. But when they rolled it out, the boxes are designed to go together. The other, the two sides in the background, that was a challenge to make it all kind of work together if you put the boxes together. But great. I'm looking forward to seeing, putting these together myself. I think it's time to start putting plastic model kits together.
John, I want to see John Ruffin model kit. I want to see John Ruffin model kit.
That's frightening.
In 2025.
When I get back from Japan, there's something I have my eye on.
Okay.
And hopefully by our next show.
I'm here for you. If you need any advice, I'm here for you. And I'm
sure okay.
Greg Betters and Marcellus, we're all here for you. So if you need any help or suggestions, just please reach out because I want to see you do one.
I do. I want to do one
because you've got so many in your queue to build.
I know. I'd love to put together one of the soft final kits. Really would. So that's all. I'll cut the wrong thing. Cut Godzilla's ear. Something like that. But that is, as they say, that is that.
Speaking of that, John,
cool.
you showcased the Max Factory, and I cut the wrong thing in that particular model kit. I had to prepare it. So when you're a beginner and you don't read Japanese, it's very easy to cut the wrong thing. And because especially, and I never did it again, but that was the kit that I screwed up quite a few things on from cutting the wrong thing.
Just a comment on these boxes. I didn't have the model kit, so it was a challenge.
I was gonna say, dude, it looks great. I mean, what you have looks great. I love the Mechagodzilla one. I love how you have the spotlights, like the lighting in the background, like when he first appears.
You would imagine what I had to go through to get to this stage in the process. I think the final file had over 500 layers. Just how to get from A to Z. It was. I learned a lot.
It's super. I can't wait to see what else they do now. I like this little scale. I like what they look really good. I mean, they do look really nice. Slick.
Yeah, to see what other kaiju it'd be really interesting.
So real quick, Johnny Coke asked in the comments if the KOC kit was solid resin or hollow. It's solid. The majority of resin kits that I've built have all been solid.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing because it's just wanted to answer that for you.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's it for me for my show, my news. Kyle, back to you.
All right. Well, so guys, I've been going to a lot of toy shows here. That includes Super Festival and Wonder Festival and even some stuff in between. And one of the things that I saw at Super Festival this last time is what I'm going to showcase. But before I get going on that, real quick, I just wanted to say that at Winter Wonder Festival back in February of this year, that's when I saw the first iteration, which you see in the middle here, I believe, of the G-Saurus series Godzilla -1 Sofubi from Artstorm/Future Models.
Wow.
And they don't do a lot of soft vinyl pieces like this in this sort of stylized well, a lot of their stuff is stylized, but in terms of Godzilla, they don't do a lot of Godzilla stuff. So it was really interesting at Wonder Festival to see this on display. And now it looks like these photos here are from Super Festival that just happened at the end of last month. They're releasing a second version of this Godzilla -1 figure, but that's not the one I want to focus on. The one I'm focusing on is the Shin on the left-hand side, because to me, that was a complete surprise.
Wow.
And I actually think it looks a lot better than the -1. The -1 is cool looking, and I love the stylization that they do to it, but
I agree.
in my opinion, I think their Shin looks like it's got a lot of potential, and similar to what they're doing with the -1, where they're releasing sort of like a radioactive bluefin version. I hope they also release a cool purple version of the Shin Godzilla as well.
That would be beautiful.
This Godzilla figure, now the first one isn't even out yet, right? So the first figure from -1, that is getting it's still technically on pre-order. It just got put up on Premium Bandai a couple of months ago, I believe. And they're all going for about the same price. That's 24,800 yen, or 27,280 yen, which sounds like a lot of money, but with that US dollar conversion right now, it's actually not. And if, like, I know that people in America can't easily get things through Premium Bandai, but there is a pre-order link on the artstorm.co.jp website where you can at least get the Godzilla -1. But this Shin Godzilla, it's going to have the same sort of like price point. It's going to also have the same points of articulation, hopefully, that the -1 has. So if you're interested in getting this, just sort of like mentally bookmark the Artstorm website. Don't mentally bookmark it, actually digitally bookmark it in your browser, and then just keep checking back, because like I said, Premium Bandai will have it on their website, but they've got an IP firewall kind of thing that doesn't allow people outside of Japan to set up accounts and even look at products, which is super annoying, as I recall. Anyway, these are the points of articulation on the -1 figure. So again, I'm hoping that this is sort of like what they do with the Shin Godzilla figure as well. And I thought that Shin Godzilla was just gorgeous. So
it's really cool.
Check that out when you can. And that's my news. And let's go ahead and move along to our intermission. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. And we are going to be back after this intermission with our Terrors of Tokusatsu. Wait, where is that intermission? It's way down here at the bottom.
Today on Collect All Monsters.
Hey, is that a new shirt?
It is a new shirt, Lady Kyle, designed by our favorite friend and fan of the show, not to mention the toy maker himself, Octeal. You can get this Kamegon shirt at TeePublic, and you can find a link to this shirt in the show notes right now.
20周年のハロウィンを歴代最強ゾンビからさあ逃げ窓へそして忍び寄る陰湿な恐怖の連続で
さあぶっ壊れろ。
ユニバーサル・スタジオ・ジャパンノーリミットハロウィン NO マネガシャポンじゃあミラ何してんの早く一緒に泳ごう水際のジャミラ全国のガシャポン売り場でバンダイロイズのハロウィンおや今年もキュートで愉快な仲間たちがやってきましたかわいいお菓子やチョコレートにお化けたちもドキドキあなたのお家でも楽しい、おいしいハロウィンで盛り上がろう
ロイズでワクワク。
Welcome back. I should actually have like a spooky background and spooky noises and stuff for this. It's hey man, it's Halloween season, and this is just a little too bright for me. So let's darken this up with our.
Let's get the atmosphere.
Somewhat atmospheric.
Yes,
And welcome to Terrors of Tokusatsu. In fact, let me just go ahead and kick off our screen share guy there. You know, it's we don't. I remember when I first started coming back to Japan, I was like, oh, Japan doesn't really do Halloween, and what they did at the time 10-ish years ago was they basically there would be like people dressed up in Shibuya the night of. Well, you guys, I'm happy to report that Japan has gotten on the pumpkin, and there's Halloween decorations everywhere here. So it's I'm not feeling the loss of Halloween, and so it was a no-brainer for me when Jonathan suggested Terrors of Tokusatsu as the subject matter for this episode to just jump on that too, because I do love me some horror movies, and it's not a lot of crossover between horror movies and kaiju and Tokusatsu films. So you would think. But we are here to showcase our top 3 moments, movies, TV shows, etc. of Tokusatsu and the terror within. So we're going to go ahead and start with, guys, what we should do probably is say, we're going to talk about our favorite moments. If we have collectibles from these movies or TV shows, we're going to show them off a little bit. And then also the pontification therein. And for you guys in the chat too, like, what would you like to see if you don't have something? Because I will admit, like, of my choices, I don't have stuff from everything. So part of this is, what would you like to see? What would be your Halloween wish list of scary items here from Tokusatsu? Let's go ahead and start things off and talk about the terrors of Tokusatsu.
Great graphic.
I believe we're going to start things off with Mr. Leslie Chambers.
I love the sound effects. And you know what, Kyle just mentioned it. Sometimes there is some crossover with kaiju films and horror. It's very, very few. Like Cloverfield is like the closest thing I would say to a kaiju horror film. The other 2 Cloverfield films, they never happened. Okay, well, you know what? The second one did. The second one was cool. The third one, no, that never happened. The Paradox never happened. But there are some classic kaiju, at least classic monsters, that to this day still give me the creeps. And the first one I want to talk about is a certain monster that appeared in a mining village back in 1956 and hacked people to death. I'm talking about the Mega Neuron from the classic Rodan, 1956. God, even to this day, just the idea of this monster killing people is so unsettling. And I know when it comes to these films, the Japanese version of these films are pretty much the better told version of that movie. But there are a few exceptions where the American version actually does the film better. And I have to say, Rodan, the American version, does the film a little bit better, in my opinion, even though it's like you're watching the audiobook, because the over narration can get annoying. But they cut out a lot of the janky shots of the Mega Neuron, and which made it a more polished presentation in the American version. And plus, when you hear like the screams of the victims of the Mega Neuron, that just sends things on another level, especially like the first scene where the 3 people or 3 guys are going into the mine when it's flooded and they're looking for Goro, and they hear something in the water. All of a sudden, the first guy the look on his face, like something grabs him and just pulls him in. The second guy gets pulled in. The third guy, he thinks he's lucky because he gets away momentarily, or at least for a brief period of time. And then you hear that creepy sound that the Mega Neuron make, and it's like you see the guy on the phone trying to call for help, and you see the shadow of the Mega Neuron. You don't see the monster,
Yeah, you don't
but
know
you
what it
see
is yet. Yeah.
you don't know where it is yet, but it's just the implication of the terror. It's actually very frightening. It's kind of like the first Jaws, because in the first Jaws you don't see the shark a lot, but it's the implied tension that made the movie better. And the implied tension here, where where you don't see the Mega Neuron, but you know it's there, and him just screaming like I'm sure anybody else would, and then it fades to black, and then the American version is cuts to the bodies being delivered to the medical facility for the autopsies, and you can, of course, they don't show the bodies up close, but you can tell they are hacked to pieces. And this is before even Rodan shows up, because again, when you watch the film, you're looking at these worm monsters, and you're like, how are these things connected to Rodan? Because obviously Rodan is on the posters, he's on the picture of he's on the poster of the VCR tape, or however you watched it. So I'm thinking that when I first watched that, one of these worm monsters, because you only think there's one until you find out there's multiple ones later on. I thought maybe that one worm monster would eventually get exposed to radiation and grow up to be Rodan. But couldn't find out these vicious monsters that are killing people to death are actually food for the main villain. But in my opinion, the Mega Neuron portion of the story is actually a lot scarier to me, or at least a lot more jarring to see than the Rodan portion. And I hope at some point, because there's a lot of money in prequel stories and going back and trying to establish backstories when it comes to certain characters or movies. And I hope we do get a brutal, gritty backstory with the Mega Neuron, like really show them killing people and hacking people to death.
I would love
that. What I'm saying? I mean, I think we're ready for it. You know what I'm saying? I think we're ready for it. But yeah, even to this day, even though it's a cheesy monster movie from the 50s, but the Mega Neuron, yeah, to this day, when I hear that creepy noise, yeah, I can't watch it alone. I'm like a little squirrel girl. Like I can't do that, So that's the first monster I want to talk about, and the second monster I want to talk about. Let's go to the Heisei series.
Oh wait, before you move on, sorry, Leslie.
Okay,
I did have just a couple quick things. One of the things I always love doing with these segments is showing off some of this stuff, the behind the scenes footage, or shots, so them sculpting the original, and then the suit before you got the guys in it when they're getting it tested out.
Nakajima was in the head, by the way. Was in
really?
The front. Yep.
Cool.
Supposedly, I think I've seen an image of him.
Is that him right there? Is that him right there?
I don't think that's him, but I think he was actually at some point involved.
I don't think that's him, but yeah, he's definitely part of it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing, if I may, Leslie, because I was going to pick Mega Neuron because I'm afraid of it too. I still get creeped out by it. And Honda, the director of the film, Ishiro Honda, was inspired by the very popular American film Them, to create the giant insects caused by radiation. We're not sure if they were that big in the prehistory or the radiation made them that big, but Them was a huge influence on Honda. And Them is the very first and the very best American giant radioactive creature film. So you can definitely see the influence of Them, which is science fiction, but it blurs the line between sci-fi and horror, because that's another scary movie. And you don't see the monsters until a little bit into the movie, and the tension is built up so much. And all you see are the bodies in the aftermath, that they're all slashed up and hacked up. So I love that Honda got inspired by an American film to put it in there. So yes, absolutely Them. So good choice. I was going to pick it too. So awesome.
I gotta say, Leslie, that scene you talked about where the miners are getting pulled under, that scene still affects me today. When I was a kid and I saw that, because my uncle was showing me all these movies when I was a kid, and maybe he didn't think it was going to freak me out, but I was actually kind of traumatized by that, just seeing them pulled under and screaming. Like, you don't see anything. It's just the implication of it, and you don't know what's under there. That drove me nuts. I remember just being like wide-eyed and like shit. I was like frozen. I couldn't move.
I think
such a great scene.
We all collectively feel that way, and you forgot an important component, Leslie. Those miners were tied together.
Oh,
so
yeah,
That adds to the adds to the horror, because the first guy goes under, the other guy's like, "Oh my God, I can't get out." So he knows he's going next, and the only reason the third guy got out because he was able to cut that rope.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
pulled out
Whoa.
because can you imagine being the second guy? Like you can't get away even if you want to because you're tied.
Yeah, I think the
tethered.
second guy was the cop too, right? Because
Yeah,
he
he
was
was
trying
the
to
cop.
shoot it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't work.
And you can hear that sound, that piercing sound. It's just it just like runs chills around you.
Here's
I
a
know.
little,
Also,
here's a little tiny
Oh,
baby.
yeah, good.
Nice. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
This is the Iwakura cast figure of the.
Don't you have that big one?
Don't you have a big one?
Yeah, he's up there. I got the ginormous. I think I sent a
Plus,
picture to
yeah.
Leslie, but I have the ginormous X Plus,
Mhm.
early X Plus one. So
Also,
love it.
honorable mention to Godzilla X Megaguirus because
Absolutely.
they did
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for Megaguirus,
Yes.
and he does have a brief moment where he causes some serious
To that couple.
murderous
Yeah.
havoc.
Yeah, to that couple.
And it's like it's
That's
actually
horror, straight up horror.
as Godzilla progressed, right, and as Godzilla got older in his own career, I would say that the movies they got less of a horror edge to them, right? And then for especially coming off the heels of Godzilla Millennium or Godzilla 2000, you bring in the Mega Neuron into that movie, and it's like, what is happening there? Like that is like actually kind of scary, but it's
The
over
music,
so
too.
fast. They don't get very much of the spook factor, but yeah, for sure, very well done. I think it was, I'm guessing it was Wakasa's team that did Monsters Inc. that did the Mega Neuron for that movie because it's creepy.
It's very scary.
Good
It
stuff.
is. It is.
Very good.
Even at that moment when the creature reveals itself and it starts going throughout the mining village, and then it happens to just kill a few people, then it just goes back into the mine, and it's like those cops and those officials, they had balls of steel because there is no amount of money you could convince me.
Oh yeah, they chased him. They chased him out.
They
of the
chased that
village.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Chased him up
I'm
the
like,
hill.
no, I would not be one of those people. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going in there. I'm sorry. Like, no, I'm not doing it. So, but again, I mean,
Great choice.
great. It's a great, cool monster, and it's still to this day,
Horrific.
it does creep me out.
Me too.
Now let's go towards the Heisei, and of course, I'm talking about the aggregate, or juvenile form, the final villain in the Heisei series for Godzilla. And I'm talking about Destroyer or Destroyer or
Destoroya.
however the hell you say it. That guy right there. And again, you heard many kaiju fans say that describe Destroyer in one sentence. And basically you will probably hear them say, if the devil was a kaiju. And that's basically what you get with the various forms of Destroyer, not just with the crab version, the aggregate form, the juvenile form, the flying form, the perfect form. Every form of Destroyer looks really, really creepy. Now that's how far I'm going to go with it, because that's why I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that movie. It's like I love the concept of Destroyer, but I don't feel like he was executed properly. I think Kyle touched on this a few months ago when we were doing our brainstorming session, and he was absolutely right when he says that in the story of Destroyer, he really doesn't feel necessary because the real threat of the film is Godzilla's meltdown. That's the real threat. So Destroyer as a monster kind of gets lost in the shelf a little bit, but I think Destroyer in another movie with better execution could have been more than what it was, but it still does not take away from the fact that the overall design of the monster is so creepy. And even though, again, we all love the perfect form, again, I think I said this a few times before, I find the aggregate form to be a lot more terrifying, a lot creepier.
It's more disturbing. It is. I agree.
With
That's
that
a lot more in line with the poster too, like the poster design.
Yeah, but he also has that predator type of face with the multiple mouths and stuff like that, very, 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 very creepy. But again, it's the execution. It's too bad that it didn't receive the execution with another monster that came out a year later, which I'm talking about momentarily. But still, through it all, it does creep me out seeing the various forms of Destroyer. And now the figure that I do have of him is, of course, the favorite sculptor's line, aggregate form. And there are times where I'm afraid to touch it. I think he's going to bite me. I'm not afraid to admit that. That's how creepy he looks. But again, Love the various evil, satanic versions of Destroyer. Now let's talk about the final monster. And again, and I just alluded to it. A monster that came out a year later than Destroyer. Oh, look at that! Oh,
It's
yeah,
fierce.
look at that. Again, I'm afraid to touch it.
Beautiful.
I'm afraid to touch it, not only because it's resin, because if you look at it wrong, it'll break. But I'm afraid if I put my finger in his mouth, then I'll be 9 fingers versus 10. But again, better execution. I wish that warehouse scene could have been better executed, more horrifying. They had the potential. They had the potential to do something more with him, but they couldn't do it for whatever reason. Whatever reason. But it's always nice to think about what could have been. But my last monster I want to talk about is, you know what? You might as well say it's like a concept of Destroyer. And I'm talking about the many soldiers of Legion, from Gamera 2, the Attack of Legion. And again, what I said that Destroyer's shortcomings were, I think Legion actually does it better. They took that concept and made the most of it. Of course, this figure right here, I got it from my great friend, fearless leader, Kyle Young, because again, we had this common bond that not only we love GMK, not only we love Monster Zero, but we do have a love for Gamera 2, and John Ruffin too. I know he loves Gamera 2, the Advent of Legion. But as you can see here, Queen and Soldier, of course, this is not how it was in the film size-wise, but again, I know, right?
That was awesome.
Gamera, if this was the size of Legion in comparison to the Queen Legion in the movie, Gamera would have been toast. Gamera would have been gone. There's no way Gamera could have survived that, But again, kind of like the first monster I talked about earlier with the Mega Neuron, that sound that the Legion makes when they're like, when they're traveling, when they're chomping on like wires and everything they did in the movie. Very, very creepy. Very, very creepy. Even that shot, that first shot we see of the soldier in that beer warehouse. Even back then I was like, oh boy, what is that? What is that? So again, every time I think of Legion and see that movie, I'm like, Destroyer, why? Like, you could have been that. You could have been that. Oh my God. But still through it all, those are the monsters that I chose. The Legion soldier, the aggregate or juvenile form of Destroyer, and of course the Mega Neuron. You know what I'm saying? All classic, awesome beasts, but also strike a little bit of terror that we all need in our lives at some point. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I want to talk about in this part of the discussion. So, David, what are the monsters that you chose for this discussion?
You're blazing through this so fast, man.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to
just. Yeah,
sorry.
I love the movie. I just, let's be very quick. I love the movie, and I love that they, similarly to Rodan, they set up in this sort of like prologue at the beginning, essentially, that these are not just like goofy big monsters. And this scene in the subway where the Legion appears and the Legion soldier appears, they stop the train essentially. And then the guy is like looking out, trying to figure out what is out there on the tracks. And then all of a sudden the Legion soldier appears. And then on the inside, you see them knocking on the door. And when the screen flies up and he puts his hand up on the window, and then it's immediately covered in blood. And then everybody runs away screaming. I think it is so good to get every once in a while to get that like actual horror vibe in one of these movies. And I think it elevates these films to something more than just, a goofy kaiju movie. And these are some of the Legion costumes on display at like the DNA exhibit and stuff like that.
Creepy.
So the coolest thing about Legion, especially the little soldiers, is that I love how Kaneko shot them. He shoots them in low lighting, up close, abstract camera angles, hidden at times. Sometimes if you're gonna see it, it's scurrying by. It's a fast shutter speed. Like these things are effective film techniques that he understood to make it creepy and make it weird and make it unsettling. I think that's the one difference that I find with Legion and Destroyer. Is Destroyer wasn't interested in making it look creepy as much.
You're damn sure wasn't.
A lot of things, you see a lot of it you don't see a lot of it up close. It's a lot like straight up basic camera angle, straight on. You don't really see it like the cameras are kind of stagnant. There's not a lot of like creativity in terms of how they're using this suit and maybe hiding the deficiencies up close and things. So I would say the one thing I do love about Destroya is the part where the reporter, she's trying to hide from the aggregate that's coming after her.
She was dumb.
It's kind of a part.
She was dumb.
Classic horror, classic horror character is where they could easily get away, but it's like, oh no, I'm frozen in fear. It's like you could just kind of go out the back way, but it's fine. But I would say that Legion definitely plays up that horror feel much better.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's so impactful. That shot with the blood going up on the windshield. So cool. And creepy too.
Do you know why Legion works so much for me? The small creatures is because it looks completely alien.
Yeah,
it does not. It looks like it came from another planet for real.
Even the big suit, I would
right.
say, looks like the first time I saw that suit, I was like, "Is there a person in that?
Yeah.
How does that work?"
It
Crazy
is
how it
so
works.
alien in design that you're like, this thing is not from planet Earth, and it's not a man in a suit. It's not of this Earth, and I think that is in itself is disconcerting enough to make it successful.
You're right, David, because like you said, Legion looks like it came from space. Destroyer looked like it came from hell.
Yeah.
Literally, like it came from hell. Like it was sent by the devil.
Godzilla versus the devil concept. I feel like that's also and Bagan to talk about what Jonathan mentioned earlier. Like those were very influential. I feel like in Destroya's designs, and Legion obviously just really, really solidly. And I'm a huge Gamera fan, as everybody knows. Like those movies are so well thought out from start to finish, in my opinion, including the designs of the monsters and what they represent as in the mythos of Gamera and the stories that are within. So
absolutely,
I love that you chose Legion and Legion Soldier.
Yeah, gotta show love to the Queen.
All right, so
love it.
Back to it, right? Where's that? This guy? Yeah.
Ooh.
Next up is David.
All right, so let's see if I can do this without coughing. I went about this kind of in my own way. I picked movies and creatures that scared the hell out of me as a kid, and still do. And one of them is one that I thought totally epitomizes Halloween, the Japan's embracing of Halloween and Western European concepts of Halloween. So let's jump right in. The first movie I chose was called The Manster. Now, this was a Japanese-American co-production shot entirely in Japan, and it was from a novel called The Split. And it's sort of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of story. It also has to do with radiation and mold and glandular, experiments. So the film was made in 1959, as I mentioned, shot entirely in Japan, and it stars Tetsu Nakamura, who you may remember. He's the mad doctor of this film. He was in The Mysterians, The H-Man, Mothra, Latitude Zero, Yog, and The Last Dinosaur. So there's a lot of Toho films under his belt too. And I don't know if I have a picture of him. I probably didn't have it, but he was Nelson's henchman in Mothra.
Oh, okay.
And speaking of Nelson, Nelson is also in this film. Jerry Ito plays a role as the head police detective. So that's kind of interesting.
I have not seen this movie.
Oh, Kyle, you need to see it.
Definitely watch
this image right here is the mad scientist's wife, Emiko, who he did experiments on, and she completely mutated, and he has to keep her locked up. And scared me so much when I was a kid. So I'm going to quickly talk about the story for those of you who haven't seen it. It's available to watch on Tubi, I think, or one of the free streaming channels. Basically, an American reporter goes to Japan to do a story with this mad doctor who lives in a remote laboratory somewhere near Mount Fuji. And he gives the guy some drugs in his drink, and he injects him with this serum that sort of creates this Jekyll and Hyde creature that happens to him over time. It keeps getting worse and worse. And the first thing that happens is he's in an onsen, and he pulls down his kimono, and there's an eye on his shoulder. And when you're a little kid and you see that kind of imagery, it's terrifying. And then the eye goes on to grow into a second head. And I think there's a picture of it, Kyle. You can see the head in one of the images that I have. There's the eye. There's the eye.
Yeah, there's the second head, right?
Yeah, and there's the second head. And at the very climax of the film, sorry, spoiler, the other creature actually splits in half. He splits in half. And it's just a really creepy. It's black and white film, very creepy story. So it's perfect for Halloween, and I guarantee you guys are going to dig it because it definitely has so many horror aspects to it, and the fact that it's shot entirely in Japan is pretty awesome. So, The Manster, 1959. Oh yeah, that's the creature that ends up being like split in two at the end. So, very cool movie. Literally, I had to sleep with my light on in the bedroom for months after watching this movie. So, okay, number 2, another thing that scared the living poop out of me. Now, some other people might not find this creature scary, but I was terrified by the Dada.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Creepy.
Something about this monster, this alien, just got under my skin. The creepy totem pole-esque sort of head. Yes, and that sound he made. Oh my god! And the fact that the Dada had 3 different incarnations, and I have little representations here I can show you. So there's the main. Oh, I can't. My lighting is terrible today. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3.
Awesome.
Who made that?
And these are actually high grade, like blind box toys that I got in Iwo Jima in Seattle. I'll post better pictures of this in our group, and then of course I have the Medicom real action hero Dada.
Nice.
Posable, and you can exchange the heads, but I can't find them. They're in a box. So really cool representation.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah,
and then of course the X Plus version is very classic and awesome. Now I'm searching for. They have a special version of this with the damaged head that I want to have too.
There's a damaged head.
So anyway, it's from episode number 28, Human Specimen 5 and 6, and the Dadas come to Earth to find human specimens to experiment on so they can take over the Earth eventually. And that in itself is creepy. And this Dada is holding what they call the micronizer. He shrinks you down, puts you in a little test tube, and ships you back to the planet. And that's their entire mission, is to get 6 human specimens. I don't know why they chose 6 to go back. And
what in the world?
Yeah, well, this is where Ultraman gets the better of him. And look at this. When Kyle and I were in Kaiju Sakaba, they have an actual figure, a little statue of that actual thing. How cool is that?
That's awesome.
So, anyway, the Dada always creeped me out. I still love that episode, and I think I forgot to tell you that they can actually pass through walls. Except for the one scientist gets away because there's a special alloy and the Dada can't get through. And one more thing I'll say about Dada, this is concept art, is that they, in the American version, the dubbed version that John Ruffin and I watched in the 70s, the Dada had a very sinister female voice. So it had this really weird, creepy, feminine. If you ever get a chance to see the American dub version, check it out. To me, that's even more creepy that they add that aspect to it. So, okay, Dada, and then finally, this one is perfect for Halloween. Toho was definitely inspired by the Hammer films from Great Britain. They came out with the Bloodthirsty trilogy. There's 3 films. The first one being The Vampire Doll in 1970. and it did not have Dracula per se, but it had a lot of female vampires. Very, very creepy, very atmospheric, very much like a Hammer film. And they were all 3 films were scored by Richiro Manabe, who did some of the later Godzilla films, Megalon, Smog Monster, etc., etc. And it gives you that sort of jazzy 70s sort of vibe, and they're quirky, but still like that it's off-putting in a way. You know what I mean? It keeps you off balance. But anyway, the second film, I think I don't know. I'm tied between the second and the third. It's called The Lake of Dracula, released in 1971, and this actually has Dracula. And of course, you recognize him as the actor Shin Kishida, who played in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
He was the cop. He was the cop.
And he is perfect as Dracula.
You should think of love.
Think about love. Yeah.
In this
Nambara.
In this film,
and then he bites your neck.
He doesn't utter a word. He doesn't say anything. But the eyes, very effective. And again, this Dracula is very, very much inspired by Christopher Lee's Dracula for the
I can't look at
series. And finally, the last in the series is probably the most gruesome. It's called The Evil of Dracula. And this one, he is the headmaster at an all-girls school in Hokkaido somewhere. And it's just, and like everybody goes away on vacation. And there's like 3 or 4 of the girls left. And it's just super, super creepy. And his wife, it starts off, his wife is dead. She supposedly got hit by a car accident. But she takes the women and she skins them and she wears their skin.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty gruesome.
Crazy.
I mean, again, it's like Hammer, and you see quite a bit of this stuff in there. I definitely didn't see these as kids because they were drastically cut for American television, but you see a lot of nudity, female upper body nudity, and it's very, very, very. I know. Everybody's like, "How do I get these now? How do I get them?" They used to be available to watch on Tubi, but I think they took them off temporarily. But
the whole trilogy is actually available through Arrow.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
You can get the Bloodthirsty trilogy, is what it's called,
and it's definitely a perfect for this conversation, a Halloween-inspired film series from Toho. And again, a lot of you, hopefully, many of you will now seek out the Manster and seek out the Bloodthirsty trilogy because they're definitely. Jonathan, you watched one of them with me, didn't we? Or did we make it all the way through?
We made it through the second one. Yeah, we watched the second one.
The
it was
Lake
really
of Dracula,
good.
And they're very creepy. They're a little bit of a slow burn at times, but that to me that doesn't bother me because it just sets up. The characters are great. That is the main vampire from the Vampire Doll, and again that's my least favorite because it doesn't have Dracula in it. But
that's also Yukiko Kobayashi.
That's right. That is who Kyle did the interview. She was in Destroy All Monsters. That's right.
That's Kyoko? That's Kyoko?
Yeah, that's Kyoko Manabe. That is Kyoko Manabe.
Oh.
And I think that it's just worth a watch because it's part of Toho's filmography that a lot of people don't get to see. And Kyle, you had mentioned that what would we like to have collectible wise from these films? I would love to see X Plus do a series or just do the Toho Dracula. How cool would that be?
Creepy.
Or a real action hero, which may be more a little bit larger with the cape and everything. And I think that would be super.
Do you have any collectibles from this movie?
I don't think any exist, Kyle.
Oh, my friend.
Oh, do they?
Maybe one does.
Oh,
look at that.
Do tell.
I don't know anything about this, but this was the DVD
serious?
box.
Oh, snap.
That's creepy.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And again, Christopher Lee, very, very much an inspiration for this character. And Shin Kishida should be more recognized as this Dracula character because he did it just as good as anyone else, I think.
You know what? Every time I see him, I always say, Alpha. Taurus.
Now you're gonna say, "Oh my God, where's the garlic?" That's what you're gonna say now, because now every time I see him in anything, I see Dracula. I see his Dracula. Oh, I know what I want to say real quick before I pass it down to Jonathan. In The Evil of Dracula, the last film, they actually tell you why Dracula is in Japan and why he is who he is. It's very interesting. It's kind of convoluted and it's a little bit far-fetched, but I love every second of it. So, anyhow, I got through without coughing too much. So, awesome.
Good job, dude.
Great
All right,
stuff.
thanks everybody, and everybody watch these movies, please, this month. Do it, and give us your thoughts on it after you see it in our Facebook group. So, okay, Jonathan Portman, please.
All right. Well, mine that I chose are, some of them aren't necessarily directly horror films, but horror elements for sure. Like that grabbed me. And one of the main ones that I want to focus on is War of the Gargantuas. Obviously, Gyra is going to be the main focus of this one, even though Sonda can be a little creepy too, but we all love Sonda. Like Sonda's he's like a big teddy bear. So we're going to focus on Gyra. The design of Gyra, that demonish looking face, it's very reminiscent of like what you see in like old paintings and old like folklore and mythical tales. And it definitely has a yokai-ish like sort of face to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's what's terrifying about Gyra is just the fact that they have the prosthetics, right, on his face, but they have his actual eyes, so he can emote and there's a lot of things you can do with your eyes, man. You can make your eyes like creepy, scary, wide. He made, Haru Nakajima is an absolute legend, and what he was able to emote with Gyra and making him such this frenetic, violent green beast is truly horrific. And also the sound design of Gyra, like his roar, his screech or scream, I call it, is just insanely creepy. The music, but right? If I was a kid, I would be freaked out. I would like, get me away from this thing.
Standing there.
Get me away from this thing.
I would hug him.
It's disturbing.
It's so disturbing. And the thing about Gyra that's so disturbing is he was one of the few kaiju that actually went and like ate people. Like you can see, like he actually like devoured humans and spit out their clothes, and
that was horrible.
Had a very vampire-ish feel where he'd only really come out when it was like darkly lit or nighttime. The sun wasn't out. He wasn't around. So he kind of had one of the greatest scenes in this movie, and this is the one I truly feel like is the most horrific of the film, is the very beginning. They set it up so well with such a big gut punch.
Best
the fireworks of the beginning.
Any film, any Toho film.
Not only do you have like the creepy, weird like music and the xylophones and this weird, like Akira Ifukube always had this way of making things sound weird and off kilter and very ominous, but he does it so well with the octopus in the beginning. But then not only the octopus, but then you have Gyra who shows his face, and it's just as horrifying to see Gyra fighting the octopus. And then when when the fisherman's telling the story about how he tried to escape and he's swimming frantically and you have Gyra behind him, that to me is like nightmare fuel. That's like when you're having a nightmare and you can only run as fast and you look behind, something's running faster than you and you're in slow motion. That to me is like what I feel like evokes that feeling in my head of like being truly horrific and terrifying. So that's why I really chose Gyra for this.
Good choice.
That main song, that main title is just so. I think Akira Ifukube is one of his greatest pieces that he's ever written. It's so impactful and so violent sounding. Look, I love these stills that you're showing because now there they look like harmless, right? Of course, But then we have.
There you go. Here's your terror.
Dude, yeah, there's my terror, and there he is. He looks like he's about to sing. He's about to drop the meanest beat right now. He's about to drop the meanest beat, but he's actually
going to munch her down. He's going to munch her down.
I made a meme with that where it says like Gyra looks like he's about to drop the sickest death metal growl.
Yes.
Oh wait, no, that's a lady. He's eating a lady.
That's a lady. That's a cleaning lady.
So really the thought I had.
Now, Jonathan, you said something that I never even dawned on me before. When you look at Gyra's face alone, just the face, he looks like an Oni.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a Japanese demon. He looks like an Oni. If you take away the hair and everything, if you just look at the structure and the fangs, of Gyra, he looks like an Oni from Japanese.
He's got those like
mythology.
those little fangs that stick out, and it's got
Yeah,
the look
I
of
mean,
like
that's
a
an Oni.
statue
I
you
mean,
look at, and you're like, oh, gross. Like,
that's an epiphany for me, because now I even have even more respect for it than I did before.
Yeah,
Nice work.
and I do have a few collectibles real quick. I'm just going to show off on stream here. Obviously, we have the Mara-san set,
Oh, the nice set. Beautiful.
which I love, absolutely love. This Gyra,
beautiful.
this Gyra right here is amazing. Look at him; he looks so harmless and nice here.
Those M1s
Of course,
are
got
awesome.
Kosanda. Yeah, the M1s are great. Oh, this is M1. Sorry, I totally messed that up. Let's see what else we got here. We have one of my favorite collectibles. Of course, I'm a VHS guy. I grew up with this VHS.
Yep.
This is a Suncoast buy. When I was a kid, I would go through Suncoast horror and sci-fi section strictly to find stuff like this, and this was one of the first ones, along with the Monsters Hero cover, that really truly stuck out to me.
Great
These
cover.
Paramount covers are amazing. Of course, we have, what would it be with me not talking about these films without mentioning the scores? So we have the CD, we have the soundtrack here, and it has pretty cool booklet. I'm not going to pull it out, but it has a pretty cool behind the scenes booklet in there. Of course, we have the waxwork.
Yes,
We have the vinyl here. The inside spread, which is
amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And the vinyls themselves great too. It's like a green splash and a like an orange like tan splash. And I think that's all for the Gargantuas and namely Gyra for me. And the next one I'd like to focus on is our beautiful.
Wait, hang on one second. If you don't mind, Mr. Portman.
No, please.
I wanted to also tie in, not only is it Gyra just awesome in his design, but also designed by Toll Narita, who also designed Dada that David talked about.
There you go.
Narita-san did both the Gargantuas, which is a rarity for Godzilla for him to.
Can you go back to that one that you just had? Okay, so to the right, David. I mean, got creature-less vibes to it. Looks like the creature to me.
1,000%.
I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
That's really cool, and the fact that he did both of our choices is pretty coincidental too. I love that.
Wow, very cool.
I've
never seen that.
A lot of action going on there.
All right.
Love it.
I will allow you to move on, Jonathan.
Now,
okay, yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Jonathan, real quick, you and I have had this conversation many times about the score, because this is one of the few occasions that many fans prefer the American dubbed score in certain sections to the Ifukube original. And just real quick, the score that they lifted from a lot of the scenes is from a very terrible U.S. film called The Amazing Petrified World, starring John Carradine. Is like one of the worst movies I've ever seen. The only good thing to come out of it is the score and the music. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
And oddly enough, when you sent me that clip, and it was like an epiphany for me because I was always looking for where this came from.
Yeah.
It's oddly enough, it's the main titles, and it's like a scene of like a storm out at sea, and I'm like, oh well, that's kind of weird and kind of it has this interconnected.
It doesn't even work in that context. It doesn't work in that context. At all.
But yeah, that's one point where I definitely prefer the score of what the library music they chose in place of Ifukube's. I know that sounds sacrilegious in a way, but I think it works much better than the Mazer march that they have in there. But anyway, as I move on, let's get to no. Please, that was awesome. Let's get to their next one. I'm going to cover, which is our vampire-ish kaiju Gaios, or if you're the VHS, I guess it would still be Gauss, but they definitely don't spell it right. But still, I do love the bat logo here, though. It's like intertwined in. You could tell they definitely were like, yeah, he's definitely like a bat / vampire-ish kaiju. But Gaios, I've always had a fond liking to because that was one of the first gamer movies I ever saw next to the original. It was funny. My uncle would show me certain movies because he would just show me movies he thought I would be into, not necessarily in order, but what would get me into stuff. So he showed me the original Gamera. Then he showed me Gaios. He didn't show me Baragon yet. And I instantly fell in love with this movie. It's got this, I always say that Gamera vs. Gaios, to me, is the last Gamera movie that kind of still had this like serious tone to it, but it starts to lean towards the silly a little bit. but it still holds this serious kind of like creepy, moody tone with the
That's true.
colors and it's vibrant, but it's dark. And you've got like Giles like devouring people and like destroying, like slicing things in half. And, you've got the gore element, but it just has a dark feel to it. Even with the music, you still retain the same composer from Baragon, from the original. So it's got this, this old school vibe to it, this weird vibe. He's got this kind of weird, like dopey look to him. Like he's always tired, but I find it funny,
about all the Gamera villains.
Yeah.
Old days, I think.
Yeah, they all have this like tired look to them, like they just woke up and they have mono or something. But like the thing with Giles I always found interesting is he only comes out at night, but he's got this weird thing of like the ray comes out. It's like this slicing ray that comes out, the sonic blast.
His beam, yeah.
And the beam that comes out, very creepy, very weird kaiju. And I will say I don't have any collectibles.
I do.
Other than the VHS. Please show them off, Leslie, please. Yes,
there he is.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there he is. There's our boy. I just love his look. He's got this simplistic, like, kind of look to him, but it's very effective, and it also is very detailed as well. I love the pattern along the midsection around the wings. But one of my favorite parts of this movie is when he first is revealed, right?
Oh yeah,
and there you go, the green, like that little cave, the cavern, the green glow, and then the guy is like kind of like he starts getting lifted. He doesn't know what's happening. All of a sudden, you see Kyle's face, and he's like, "Oh crap!" And it's too late. Of course, he's going to get devoured. But that's another instance where you see like truly someone getting devoured, like in real time. It's like, hey, all right, this is creepy.
He got what he deserved. He left that kid in there. He left that kid in there. He got exactly what he deserved.
I think probably the creators were like, okay, well, the guy from the last movie kind of like he got what was coming to him, but we want this guy to really get what's coming to him. So like, no bones about it.
He wasn't nearly as bad as Onodera. Come on.
No. But they were definitely making up for some stuff. Yeah, Onodera was bad, but
in all honesty, I would have left that kid in there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that dude was so bad.
Ichi, you can't do Ichi like that.
Yes, you can.
He's just a silly little boy. Silly little boy. Okay, I will say my last thing I love about this movie, it's one of the best scenes, is when I believe Ichi he's like sleeping and he wakes up in the middle of the night. It's like kind of like when you wake up in a daze, you know what's going on, and you see like the glowing like lights and the green lights from the mountain. And they wake up and you hear the screams and it's like it's chaos and like you see Giles come out. And it's like from a distance, it's very like from a painting, it's very effective and it's very surreal, very moody, very eerie, and very, very creepy. And it's kind of terrifying too. And I always loved when he woke up out of like a daze and saw that. Like I would be creeped out. I'd be scared. Like because you don't know what's going on. No one's saying anything. It's just like everyone's in chaos and everyone's running and you're half asleep and you see this thing and then in the distance and it's like nightmare fuel for me. I would wake up from that being like, okay, I don't want to dream about that again.
You know what's frightening in terms of Gauss is like, of course, a kaiju that's dangerous like Gauss that eats people or hunts people. Of course, they can appear at any given time. That's one thing. But the fact that Gauss comes out at night is like in the film, people are dreading for nightfall to come because they know at some point he will come out. It's something really frightening about that, a monster that only comes out at night to do his thing.
Something primordial about that. Now, Jonathan, I want to ask you something.
Oh no, go ahead, David.
How do you compare the original design of Gauss to the Heisei Gauss?
Okay, I will say I'm always going to be the thing that I saw first and the thing that I grew up watching. So that would be the OG Gauss 67. But I will say that the new one, or the more modern one, I should say, from 95, from Guardian of the Universe, is creepy in a way that how they portray him. Gaius in 67 is kind of like, he doesn't have much personality, let's say, but Kaneko gave him more personality, I think. It gave him more to do. And I think with the stages of growth and the gore in that, like with the eye like dangling out like from the third one and stuff, like when they bring him back in the third, like it just presented better, I think. Just presented better. And like the scene at when he he attacks the train in Guardian of the Universe and then brings it down into the park and then like starts eating away at it and tearing it apart. I'm like, that alone was like, okay, that's a lot. I didn't expect that at all.
When the show one did that first, though.
You know, yes, true, but
but this is
they
like,
went further with
to
it.
just reiterate all the callback stuff. Like this is, in my opinion, like the Guardian of the Universe movie took a somewhat scary 60s monster and brought it into sort of a modern storytelling where Kaneko once again, I mean, before Legion, obviously, but like Kaneko was like, yes, let's add some actual horror. Let's up the stakes for humanity here. And not only is it just one Gauss, it's several Gauss that are all coming from this one island. And then not only are they like sort of like just a bit larger than humans, like when they first show up, I get, a little bit larger than humans when they first show up. Like once that one is sort of the last one around, you're like, oh, they're getting bigger because they're feeding on humans and like everything about that movie and the way they portray the Gauss. I mean, even when you first actually see the Gauss attack, and it kills a dog, right? Like that's
I know
that's like a cinematic like fist shaking action that actually makes it scary. And like that whole scene makes it, I mean, is very, very just like well done, and it just leads into the rest of the film, in my Gamera opinion.
And it's 100% true, Kyle. And the thing that always when I was talking about presentation, what sticks out to me when you said that his first appearance is when the scene at the stadium when they show them, it's all about the presentation, like the puppets, and like you see the eyes are all kind of like googly and like pointy and like wide. And it's like you can tell those eyes are scheming and they're focused, like they're alive. And this thing is creepy and it's like ripping away at the meat. Ugh, it's gross. It's weird. It's creepy. When it flies at them and they're shooting at it, I'm sitting there watching it and there's the music cuts out. It's perfect. It's like all the sound. I'm just like, are you guys gonna down this thing before it gets there? And then all the fast shutter speed and like the flashing, they did such a good job portraying Gauss in that film, and even in the third one when he comes back. I can't say enough about what Kaneko did with those films, and we said the same thing about the soldiers, the Legion soldiers. It's like the same thing. Like I want them to go further with it next time.
That last shot in Gamera 3. That last shot of the Gauss.
Nightmare fuel.
Oh gosh.
And then you gotta realize too that like what Leslie said about the Gauss from the Showa, this Gauss can come out anytime it wants, morning, noon, or night.
That's the truth.
And I do agree with Leslie. It's something creepy about dreading the night, and that's why Dracula is so ingrained in our psyche, because it's associated with nightfall and then dreading, like it's going to happen every day. Come, whatever. Night's gonna come, but this Gauss doesn't care. It's coming out all whenever it wants to.
Jerk.
Yep. So. Absolutely, 100%. And the music by Ko Otani is like stellar.
Yeah.
That trilogy alone, but in that one, man, it's so good. It's so good.
Thank you for answering that question.
Oh, did I hopefully answer it to your liking?
You did. I just wanted your opinion, and everybody seems
to
agree.
Johnny said something very interesting, and it's true. It got this gremlin sort of look to it, like absolutely. Yeah. Like the gremlins have this weird, like kind of sort of face, and it feels like at any moment it could like attack you, and you don't know what it's thinking, but it's like definitely
it ain't good.
That's bad intentions. Yeah,
it ain't good at all.
There was an old book from the 90s that I bought in Forbidden Planet called Monsters Are Attacking Tokyo. And it was all about commentary about these Japanese films.
That's by Stuart Galbraith.
That's right, Stuart Galbraith. And one of the segments was talking about Gauss and how the inspiration for Gauss was a flying fox. Originally, that was how the designers were like, Gauss is patterned after a flying fox, which is one of the giant bats from South America. And so that, I don't know if that actually is true, but I remember reading that specifically. Say, oh, Gauss is a giant flying fox, and you kind of see it in a way.
Well, here's the thing. What's interesting about these films is you look at the concept designs, the illustrations, and a lot of the time they do evoke these inspirations from real life or whatever. But then when you see the final product, it's basically like, okay, budget wise,
Right, of
and
course,
practical wise, what can we do with it to make it like, I'll come on screen? How can we actually utilize it? And then you see that, but it makes total sense.
Yep.
Like you could see the inspiration in there, you know?
Yes. Cool.
Well, sorry. Well, I took a little while on that one, but
No, we all egged you on. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
hey, you know. So my last one I'm going to go over is one that's near and dear to me, and I know it's near and dear to Leslie and Adrian. And if I'm forgetting anybody, and Kyle, and I'm forgetting anybody else, mine is John. I feel like I'm sorry. But we got Godzilla 84 as my last kind of call to like horror moments. And if you really think about the Heisei era, what's the one film that has a true horror element to it, or like has a dark tone to it that isn't as popcorn or blockbuster and more subdued and more eerie? It's this one. And this one has its own separate tone to it that they never duplicate for the previous ones or for the next ones. And that's probably due to, in part, because of who did it and how it was presented in terms of the 80s. Like once you got into the 90s, things changed, styles changed, tones changed in cinema and in TV and television, or in cinema and in movies. But like when you have 84 here, you have my guy, Yuji Sakai.
Mm-hmm.
Just that mean mug. Look at that mean mug on his face. And the detail in the eyes. It really doesn't. And like, yes, I have the tail off because I can't fit him on the top of my shelf without it. So, you know, that comes off when I have to portray it.
Shame.
I have mine like that too.
Yeah, but 84 to me, and I did originally see it, obviously, like most of us, is 85 first. And so that movie, the score, the tone, the cinematography, the sets, Godzilla itself is portrayed very horrifically, I think. Very like they really make a point to say, and even especially with the music, it's an untraditional Godzilla score. You don't have Akira Ifukube really in it. There's a little bit in the city part where like they have a little bit in there, but it's mostly his own theme, and it sounds very like dramatic, but also kind of has this like horror-ish sort of feel to it. And this and throughout the score, creepy tones, and the Shockulus in the beginning on the boat with the guy who's like petrified. That's horror. Like 100%. That's how they set up the freaking movie. Like you see Godzilla and the whole God. There you go, John. Yes.
Yep.
The blood streaking down in the hands and stuff, and the dangling hand, like that stuff, like really. Yeah, that thing is just. I mean, bugs are creepy.
Gross. That's disgusting.
So, like,
that is a disgusting creature.
It's got hairs, follicles on it. It's gross.
Yeah, and then
Again,
it's
similar to Rodan.
Yep.
And the beginning of Legion 2. This is set up like a little bit of a horror movie.
100%.
Oh my! Well, similarities to the Gargantuas as well.
Yeah, the
octopus.
The bait and switch. It's like, wait, is this the monster? No, wait a minute. The monster's much worse than this.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Or is it?
I suppose that's a common theme. Is at least what the two that I was going for is. It really sets up the movie, like you said, as a horror film. Like it has horror elements right off the bat. And then we get into the movie and you see more of it. But, dude, that is a great shot.
Great shots. Great photos.
Wow. He definitely looks, I mean, I look terrified just looking at that prop.
When it lands on his crotch, I'm like, dude, just take me out. I'm done.
And it's got this slimy element to it too, you know?
Right.
Could it have been executed a little bit better? Perhaps.
Oh, 100%.
Some of the FX are a little clunky. What you don't see is a lot worse than what you do. Like you see the appendages and the shadows. That to me is like, no way, this is horrible. I want to get out of this ship right now. Then
the 85 version does it
flying kind of crooked. It's like it kind of took me out of it. It's like at least get the track straight. No.
With 84, that's the one film. I think it's the most nostalgic for me, but it's also it's a film I feel like is most appropriately Godzilla and to the original, like in terms of tone. Like Godzilla is a force of nature to be feared, right? Not to be revered necessarily. We don't root for Godzilla all the time. And I feel like in 84, I don't feel like I definitely root for him. And I feel sorry for him in the end. But like in the moment, I'm kind of just more freaked out by him. The scene where he knocks the building down with that building just defies physics and all sorts of other things. But that building just falls down on the Super X, and then you see the dark red lights behind him, and he's and the music as it's panning in on him, and it looks like he's staring right and through their souls. That type of stuff gets me. And if you listen to that score by itself,
I love it.
at night, lights down, lights off, nothing else.
No, thank you.
I challenge you to not feel creeped out a little bit or get some chills.
Love
Because
that soundtrack.
I tell you, I listen to the score to soothe me at times, even the creepy parts. And when I hear it, I'm like, dude, like I can't get enough of it. It just evokes this like feeling, man. And so 84, that's how it encaps.
And that's cool. I love that.
You hear it to soothe you? What do you do for a living? MMA fighting? What do you do?
No, it's weird. And I also like metal music. Like I'm sort of a metalhead, but like that soothes me too. I could fall asleep to loud music. It's just something. But
Jesus Christ.
On that note, a few collectibles before I end my section here. We got of course, not surprising, we got the score from Mondo. This, to me, this artwork, well, I'm not necessarily a fan of like the illustration. I love the design of it, like the buildings. It has this sort of 80s sort of like dystopian feel to it. And the red, this evokes the film 100%. Like if you said, what's the film look like in a color? It's red.
Yeah, you're right. Good
red.
point.
Let's see. One other thing I have here is very unique. I'm not going to show all of them because like that would take too long. But some of the more ones that I think are unique in my collection. The manga here.
Yeah, it's cool.
Manga, which is amazing. And it's funny because this manga, we talked about this on the 84, 85 episode. We did the supplemental a couple months ago. But then we have the Dark Horse Comics, basically the interpretation in color and up to scale from the manga. It's the same exact thing. It's just they kind of flip some images and they change a few things like you would. Aura, you have the submarine. And I love how these are very reminiscent. Like someone who did these covers definitely did the research and they knew. Art Adams.
It's Art Adams, yeah.
Adams knows what he's doing. He's a Godzilla buff. He's a Godzilla fan.
Fantastic work.
Actor there. And then probably one of my favorites, I think this is probably my favorite of all of them, is when he's going after the Super X.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
That's just incredible. And then there's this one. I found this. The reason I knew this existed, when I was a kid, we had this local grocery store, and they sometimes, grocery stores, I don't think they do this now, but back when I was growing up, and I'm sure when with you guys as well, they had comics on the racks at grocery stores.
Absolutely.
They didn't just have grocery
drugstores.
Drugstores. That's where I would find a lot of my
Five.
comics. I found all the Ultraman comics from the 90s there. They were based on the television show Towards the Future. I found this there at our local grocery store. They had this one. I was like, that's 85. I want that. I was like, oh, that's a rendition of the movie. And of course, John, you inspired me.
Oh, yeah, you got
Toho Video 84 with the Noriyoshi Orion cover. Again,
that's the greatest poster ever. That's
the greatest poster ever. And I will say this: if you want to talk about the vibes, this captures the vibes of this movie to me right here. This artwork.
I think the 85 poster captures it better. The 85 poster does.
You think?
That one right there, yeah. That one. Yeah.
Well, definitely the red here, and I love the fire explosion effects here.
It's a sidebar though. I know David's like,
sidebar.
By the way, this is the only collectible that I've kept all my life. This is one of the few collectibles that I've had that came with me from Pennsylvania when I went on the road trip.
Suncoast purchase.
Suncoast purchase. The Star Maker reissue. Awesome. So that's it in a nutshell for me. Those are my 3 that I stumble and bumble through. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Jonathan, before you pass to John, I just had an epiphany about a future show. Now listen up.
Go for
it. Wouldn't it be cool if our panel could go through every single Godzilla movie in order and talk about what Godzilla represents in each movie? His personality, what the director wanted him to represent. Is it I think that would be, we could talk about that off camera, of course, but I think it would be, I know I would forget it if I didn't say it right now.
The Collect All Monsters First, an all-day stream, like 24-hour stream.
No, Kyle. We could divide it up into several episodes, like we did the conundrums. But wouldn't that be kind of cool? Or we could do it as a supplemental and talk about Godzilla's represent what Godzilla represents in every single movie, all the way through to up
Y'all
to
y'all gonna skip the MonsterVerse.
um.
You're gonna skip the MonsterVerse.
I'm not
David's
taking
like,
the
no
bait.
comment.
I'm not taking the bait. I'm not taking the bait.
Don't do
comment.
it, David.
Don't do it. Don't do it. But anyway,
You're out there.
do you guys think that would be a fun
Yeah, it would
segment
be
to do,
awesome.
a fun show?
I think so, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Ruffin. What you got, buddy?
Well,
Yeah,
I was kind of, behind on this. I'm sorry, Kyle and Jonathan, I didn't get your photos. I sent some on Facebook. I don't know if you saw them, but that was just not too long ago.
I got them, but I don't know what
My
order you
apologies.
want them in. So
Mine are a little different, and I kind of swapped one out because this Terror of Tokusatsu, for me, I want to bring it home where it touches reality. And these three films that I'll mention that I think, for me, strike because they strike chords in real life. But the first one, not as much as the last two. Maybe the first, and I'll probably put them out of order, would be the very horrific, pretty hard for children to watch and to see, but saw it over and over again, from Godzilla versus Hedorah. How many scenes are just brutal. With bones, sulfuric acid,
melting,
babies in mud, kittens in mud. I mean, it's raw, and the skeletons, or good. I mean, just yes. I think that's it. That sums it up.
Yeah.
The gamblers, just covered in dust, just under mud. It's so much for a kid to take in. And frightening. I stayed away from horror films growing up. I mean, if I knew something was coming on, it was no push for me. I'd go watch Johnny Carson or something before I would give into any. It was just too frightening. And I stayed away from certain films, certain Godzilla movies in particular. This one I didn't, but as an adult, I enjoy horror films because of the truth they reveal, because of what they represent and the monsters represent. And that's where, as an adult, I can gravitate because of the importance of the message in Godzilla versus Hedorah. And that's why also I can appreciate some of the older Showa films more now, because they get at something that we in our societies and cultures need to grapple with. How, in this case, pollution, it can have devastating consequences. The collectible I will share. I was a junior chemist for about 5 years, and I can appreciate this one collectible in particular that came out a couple of years ago now, and it's just one in particular with the Hedorah, the tadpole.
I love it.
Is in a petri dish, just marvelous.
I want that so bad.
It's just the best, and it's not plastic. It's real. It's a real glass. It's really dope.
Whoa.
But the funny thing is, back in 1989, when I was taking classes at Drexel, I was an intern for the first time, and I had to work. I worked at the Philadelphia water department I just would test sludge and water for cyanide and all kinds of things. And I just remember this just speaks volumes of the memories. The sludge. If this ever crawled up out the sludge, I would have fallen over. But so that's a scary film to me now. As I think about it, I try to make sense of why little kin would be subjected to such horrors. Now, the next two are very personal, but the first Godzilla film I always wanted to avoid, and I think it's full of horror. The real life horrors of human beings, Godzilla 1954. And what I noted a few months ago, almost a year ago, are the sounds.
Oh man,
the sounds of 1954, from Emiko's scream. Let's start with the scream on the Eiko Maru at the beginning of the film that reminds us of what it would have been like on a Lucky Dragon #5 out in the middle of the ocean. All the way through the film, there's these just screeches and screams, whether it's when they're arguing over whether Godzilla should be disclosed to the public. It just goes all the way through, and it just hits a pinnacle. But this was with the Prayer of Peace. Check this out. In the recent I wish I could grab them. Here it is. No, I can't find it.
It still
Recent
gets me.
magazine, the Momo magazine, that has Godzilla from the Monsterverse and Kong, I believe, on the cover. There's an interesting section where, and I didn't know it still existed, but it doesn't. But you can go see it. It's called the Toho Junior, the girls' junior and high school. So girls, junior, and high school, or something like junior, senior, high school. It's the hall, the location where they filmed the singing of the Prayer of Peace.
No. Oh my God.
And it's not that far from Toho Studios. It's in the same set of Gaia. That particular building had to be torn down, but there's another building in its place. But it's a very sacred place. And this article, talks about it, and they have old pictures, and you can compare this scene. It's in the balcony, which I never noticed. It's just fantastic, but very real. And I stayed away from it as a child. The crying, and my friend Eric's, I'm going to get on my best friend Eric growing up, still best friend. My collector is Road Dog. He used to cry when in this scene. He bawled one time. So very, very.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, because it obviously all the implications Godzilla 54 has. With that said, Godzilla became real to me and very much a horror with my last film, Shin Godzilla. So everything about I can't really watch it now. I'm finally listening to the soundtrack again, but it's hard to watch. I got to see it on opening night in Shinjuku, and I was in one of those, what was that called? 4K, 4D, somewhere where the chairs move and it's straight.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I hadn't been, because it was a little too real when Godzilla, and not just the fourth form, but the second and third form, but when the second form was going through the city and the cars are being smashed, the memories from 311 were so vivid.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally like it was such emotional.
You were crying, weren't you?
It was. I can't. I forget. I could go back to my blogs and maybe remember, but it was very emotional for sure. I had been struggling to how to kind of purge that out of my system. I had never really reckoned with it being there at that time, and so I always struggled with how was I going to get out of my system, and that did it, because everything about that movie is 311, and I remember director Higuchi reflecting about that before the film came out, and very big part. And this scene here in particular, when you go to these locations and then you realize what kind of this Godzilla is so hideous in his form and appearances in this beautiful location. And this particular park, when I got there were children with, parents with their children playing in the park. So for this to come up out of the ocean, and the other scene where Mount Fuji is actually out in the distance, and you can't see it well in the film, but it's there in person. It's like, what the world, this horrific creature is coming on shore. With that said, probably the toughest scenes are probably the ones at night. I mean, every aspect. This is a horror film, Shin Godzilla was, in a lot of different ways. I mean, think about the music at night when the fourth form is finally getting into Tokyo.
Boy.
I mean, and then the blood, just.
Oh yeah, the blood.
Yeah, remember, and then when he obviously fires his ray, and across the city, cuts through. I mean,
Hey John, let me ask you all this. Here it is 8 years later from that film. Do y'all think we were ready for a film like that?
At that time, no.
I don't think that as a fandom, we were ready for something like that.
No.
Even
when
now.
those leaked photos came in, no. That's what I want to say. And I don't collect. It's hard. I don't collect. I mean, the one that gets me when he the third form, when he had tossed the train. I was just on that train. I was going to another guy's location. I didn't realize it was on that.
That line.
Kita Shinagawa.
You were on that
train.
line.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I looked out the window, and it was the street where he's, evolving.
Oh, really?
I got a picture.
Oh.
I took it with my camera real quick. That scene is so frightening when he's going into the third form. I mean, it's like this really weird fetus or something. That was just a bizarre but genius. But I will say this: Japan needed Shin Godzilla. And
how about the fandom?
I still don't feel like the fandom. I think they appreciated it much more. It took a little while, but in terms of what it really means, it's that 311. That's why I think Godzilla. If we should go back and rethink how we make Godzilla movies out of America. They should be tied into our experience, not some.
Good point.
You got to tie it to something horrific in our context, and it will change what Godzilla means, and we'll see.
I agree with that.
That's a really good point.
Even the legendary films, they do, the first two do attempt to do a little teeny bit of tying to real life events. Like the 2014 film actually was trying to evoke some of the Fukushima nightmares, but really, like, I remember saying, I mean, not to be like, oh, I called this back in the day, but like on the Kaiju Cast before Shin Godzilla came out, and specifically like the whole like impetus for doing Hail to the King was like, what's Godzilla's future gonna be like? And I remember saying, like, the Godzilla films up until that point had gotten so kind of just not phoned in, but like the Japanese audiences really felt like they were like passe, and like like in GMK, like the TV producer says like, oh, isn't Godzilla passe? And like it really, he said that, he put that in the movie because that's what people were feeling essentially. And so like I remember saying, like, they're gonna have to find some way to tie Godzilla into something as tragic as the atomic bombings and the Lucky Dragon incident, or like in Hedera with what was going on with pollution at the time. There's gonna have to be some sort of social impetus that drives a Godzilla film. And so when Shin Godzilla came out, the very first like thoughts that I had as I left the theater were kind of like, whoa, that was not made for the fans. That was not a movie made for the fandom. That was a movie made for Japan, and a movie that specifically echoes those social issues that were realistic. I mean, they were realistically portrayed in the film, but the realism tied to the film was something that we hadn't seen in decades.
Ever, really.
Yeah, it's like pretty crazy. So I completely agree with you, John.
So, John, Shin Godzilla was sort of a slap in the face, like a wake-up call, as Kyle was saying. And then what happened in the future of Godzilla? Because of Shin Godzilla, we got -1. Now, -1 took all of the things that worked best in Shin Godzilla and sort of eliminated some of the some of the meetings and all that stuff, which I know needed to be in there, but it took that concept of tying in a historical horror that Japan faced and using Godzilla to represent that is why so many of us, not everybody, really responded to -1 a little bit more than they did Shin Godzilla. Now, having said that, if we all had your perspective, we would have had a completely different context. And those who listen to you and those of us who have heard you speak about it can understand and have a much more like deep appreciation for that film. I certainly did. And one more thing I want to say is it is totally horror. The thing that creeped me out the most in that movie is Form 2, when it was going into the hotel building and the people were still in there, and they were dying. They were going to die. And the thing was like, it's this unformed, it doesn't have any intentions. It's just like, what am I doing? I'm just flailing around. I was just created, but I'm hurting probably because I'm who knows, whatever. And it just was it was such a slap in the face to like Godzilla fans. And some people did not like it, and some people were like, whoa. And again, it was something that we didn't necessarily want, but something that we needed to revitalize the genre.
Right.
And again, there are so many elements of horror. The tunnel in the beginning with the blood just pours down. It's like,
Yes.
there's so many horror tropes that were spawned and inspired by real events that happened. And I hope that, you know, Shin Godzilla and -1 aren't like you know, out on an island. I hope we continue to see this, like in the sequel to -1. I hope they don't all of a sudden have, like, you know, for lack of better terms, Final Wars. I don't want anything like that. It would really disappoint me. But anyway, sorry, I just had to say that because I know why you chose this, and I totally agree with you.
You brought up something. Last thing I'll say, I'm going to connect a couple things and read something. The bureaucracy you see in Shin Godzilla was important,
right,
from the Japanese context, because that's what played out on television as one event led to the other, particularly the Fukushima event. But watch this. Now, I'm going to tap into something that just happened, and I don't want to be insensitive because we're praying for everyone. Think about the hurricanes that just hit, and think about the lies about FEMA and the federal government.
Yeah.
So you take that bureaucracy, and you out of that, that's the situation for an American Godzilla to arise, or to help you see we're missing moments that made horror movies what they were in the 50s, and what makes Godzilla. The last thing I'll share, the Toho or Godzilla.com, whatever, they asked the question on Twitter. They probably did other places. What does Godzilla mean? What Godzilla means to us? Or that's the question as people make videos and submit them for New York Comic Con next week. And I wrote something, but I just want to read. These are the words of Professor Hideyuki Nagasawa of Musashino Art University, who created a work that compares the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident to the monster movie Godzilla. That's what he said. Quote, "I felt that Godzilla had become more realistic than fiction after the nuclear accident. Godzilla is an imaginary creation born out of the nuclear terror of 60 years ago. The scars and anxieties of the Fukushima accident could also become another Godzilla." And let me see, I think that's the last of it. He did an exhibit, where I think one of the awesome posters, and it's related to the Lucky Dragon #5, was called Little Godzilla and Big Godzilla. And it was like tracking from 54 all the very moments of Godzilla, a little one, now this big one, Fukushima. It's a fascinating. This is in between, we miss these kind of events and things in these discussions, but they're really important. The last thing I want to share is in reflecting about 54, for me, it's the books. This book here is on the social, cultural background of Godzilla in 1954. And awesome. I learned so much. This one was on the making of Godzilla, but for children, essentially. It won awards. Excellent. And then lastly, it's a new one that's been out now, but this is on the making of 54, just priceless. Use your Google Translator, and the stuff you learn and read, it's like, and a connection to real life and all the little details. So horror is in the human experience as well. Kyle, to you.
Amen.
Bring us your terror.
Absolutely.
All right.
What you got down there?
Okay, well, the real terror is that we've already been going on for 2.5 hours. So I am going to blaze through some of my stuff here. And partially I'm doing that because Roxy's in the room with me and she's ready for her walk. But the other reason is that I in my purge don't have a lot of stuff to share, and so we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about my 3 choices real quick. So that would be the first one being 1963's sort of no-brainer Toho horror, low-key, but really everybody knows Matango.
Absolutely.
Based on I'm just going to I'm not even going to talk about it. Based on a little short story, they created this wonderful film about these shipwrecked characters, I'll just say, who really like in they experience the terror of the mushroom people, the attack of the mushroom people, but also the terror of themselves
Each
as
other.
who
Yeah.
they are
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
people.
100%.
So I don't have any representations of anything in my collection right now. I did get the X Plus right before I moved, and then I sold it. Um, but there have been some amazing collectibles from Matango, from Sofubi pieces like from M1, Toy Graph, etc. And even M1 put out a couple of wonderful little small pieces that are realistically sculpted. Like they have the mushroom guy here that you see in this, and also another one with Mommy,
That you got for me.
which is which I picked up for David in 2013.
Yep, 2013.
And
Jesus.
like I will eventually get a mushroom man or something for the collection, but at this point I got nothing to share. I do really like they have so many collectibles out right now, so if you like the highly detailed stuff, there's something for you. If they like the stylized Sofubi, there's something for you there. Moving right along. Oh,
Good choice.
if you don't have it, it is available. It was put out on DVD in America by Tokyo Shock, and now I don't think it's available on Blu-ray yet, but hopefully we'll get a Blu-ray release at some point. Moving along to my second choice, not so terrifying, really, but the Yokai trilogy from Daiei from 1968
Yes,
and
but
69.
but perfect for Halloween.
Okay, so yeah, perfect for Halloween. I've talked about yokai many times on this show. There is a shelf down there completely dedicated to yokai, big and small. I love them. They're basically Japan's answer to what goes bump in the night. I mean, that's really what yokai are. You know, they've had such a long history. It's really like it's such a cool, weird, kooky little.
These films are stellar.
Yeah, thank you. They are stellar. I love them very much, especially
as
like
hell.
the third one. Third one is my favorite. But
Yeah.
what I did want to mention real quick about them before I go on to that is that while I have a shelf dedicated to yokai are not just the movies. You know, they are actual cultural and folkloric entities that have had a long history here in Japan. So a lot of people make little toys of them, whether they're from representing the old scrolls that were created, which I should have had included in this presentation as well, or if they are from the movies. And while I don't have them here in front of me to show them off, I will say that the Daiei trilogy specifically, M1 has a daimon who's the big bad guy of the second film, The Great Yokai War. Bear Model, that company, put out several of the yokai, which are that you can find them. They're sort of vintage now, but the Sofubi versions of those, and then most sort of like recently Sofubi wise, I would say that Marusan and Tomy, that company that makes the Tomy Nick cars and stuff, they put out like almost like gachapon sized Sofubi of
Sun Guts too.
a whole bunch. Yeah, well, no, hang on a second. I'll get to Sun Guts in a second. So the Sun Guts aren't actually from the movies. Like, so I'm specifically talking about the ones from the Daiei films. So Sun Guts makes stuff that are more culturally directly from like the old scrolls, like the Night Parade of Demons and stuff like that. This is like, so the movies though have almost like specific characters: the kappa, the fox with the big mirror belly, the guy with the sort of like giant head and the straw coat. And so basically these characters are available. You can get them in Sofubi form, but they're sort of like few and far between. And if you're interested in the super vintage stuff, those guys are available. Some were made available from Nito way
Nito.
back in the day. Very expensive stuff. And David's showing off a Kappa right there, which is Marmot.
Marmot.
But that's again, that's just a Kappa, not discounting it because
It's not
I have
from the movie. Yeah, it's not
just
from the
a bunch
movie,
of yokai there too. But yeah, like the stuff from this movie specifically is a little harder to come by. In addition to this film, there's a lot of yokai characters from these films that were also in Gegege no Kitaro. If you watched our intermission, there was an old Universal Japan Kitaro sort of experience that happened a few years ago. So that there was a commercial in the intermission about that. But yeah, huge fan of the yokai stuff. It is also available on Blu-ray from Arrow Video, a wonderful collection that not only has like the original 3 films, but also the 2005 Takashi Miike film, which is a sort of like redo of the Great Yokai War that has absolutely no connection to the original one. There he goes. Jonathan's got it right there.
Awesome.
Wonderful set with art by Julian Yates. We talked to him actually several years ago when we first started doing the show. Okay, now moving right along to my third pick. This is a little weird, and this is the reason I chose it is because it's weird, and not a lot of people know about it because it's not. A lot of people do know about it, but they haven't been invested in it like I have. I've talked a lot about Keita Amemiya, who is an artist and visionary filmmaker who made like the Zerum films, right? He made Zerum, he did Hakkaider, he did a whole bunch of stuff. And let me open my notes here. In 2000, in the year 2000, he created a series called Tekkoki Mikazuki, or Iron Warrior or Iron Armor Machine Mikazuki, which is basically a live action TV show that is in the vein of Tetsujin 28, aka Gigantor, or in some respects Johnny Sacco, where there's a kid who controls a giant robot, and that giant robot fights monsters. This is a almost entirely practical effects show. In fact, because my presentation is a little sketchy, let me just do this, see if I get in trouble for this. Hopefully not. This is Mikazuki here. This is the show is it's interesting, and it's real fun and real cool. And I have an affinity for this show because it was done with practical effects. It stars a whole bunch of like people you'll recognize, and it is it's not a horror series, but in this show the actual monsters are created by imagination, and so I think they're called imagination monsters or imagination kaiju. And like the first one that shows up is this watermelon monster.
Oh, I love that. Look at that.
Is really cool, but then it spits out these watermelon seeds that then terrorize the people of Tokyo. I think it's Tokyo. And then they send the team after to fight it. But basically, let me just ruin that now. So
that's cool as all hell.
This is the watermelon monster.
Oh my gosh! Awesome.
Oh, you got him. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I love Amemiya's stuff. I don't have an extensive collection because there's not a lot of stuff to collect, but these are by Takara, I think. And so they very much feel like a Bandai figure, but this is the watermelon monster. Later on, and they all do have like horrific sort of like connotations. The because they're born from people's imagination, or people who are turned into the monsters, essentially. This guy here is another one of the dream monsters.
Oh, I remember seeing that at the collection. That's cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
And then another weird one, really weird one, is this door demon monster.
What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that actually sums it up really well, David.
That's all right.
Hell, I really love this series. I wish. So back in the day, Tokyo Shock was putting out a bunch of Amemiya's stuff. They put out Zera movies and Hakkaider, and I was like, they've got to put out Mikazuki, but there's something having to do with the rights. This was actually probably one of the most expensive TV shows ever produced at the time.
Okay.
And it's really well done. Lots and lots and lots of practical effects, but also a lot of hokey CGI because at the time in 2000, Japan wasn't really so great at the CGI stuff. But it's definitely worth watching. I think you might be able to watch it on YouTube, even though it's not super legit. It was fan subbed by a really great group, and it's a really cool show. And I think Mikazuki's awesome. I've got a big version of him too, but he's less horrific, so I'm not showing him
The
off.
watermelon
Anyway,
guy is cool as hell.
yeah, yeah, really. I mean, basically, Amemiya is a visionary. I can't say enough good stuff about Keita Amemiya. And I love his work from Zerum all the way through, and even Cyber Ninja all the way through what show he has on now, which is hugely popular, actually, called Garo. And Garo has a lot of horror elements as well. So if you're looking for horror, turn to Keita Amemiya, is what I would say. And that's where that little kid's crying. That's where I'll remove the screen, and hopefully we don't get dinged for copyright for me showing off that cool stuff. But man, I absolutely love Amemiya's work, and he's just got a visual vibe about him that I feel is very unique in the whole landscape of giant monster stuff. Not just giant monster, but tokusatsu. Because that is, of course, what our presentation here is all about. And just to make sure that I sort of button this all up, I did have a few little images here from there. So yeah, that's called Tekoki Mikazuki. And if you, like I said, if you check it out on YouTube, it's real fun. And also weird as hell. Really weird. And also, oh yeah, one last thing. I have, in addition to the figures that they made, there's not too much available for this. They have a couple of books, so I also have like the MOOC style books for this. But there you go. That is our coverage of
That's what's up.
our terrors of Tokusatsu. Yes, and that, we're gonna end that right now and move right along to our collector moment here, because time is a wasted, and that is here. Hey, we have Jonathan Portman taking the main stage right now. Take it away, Jonathan.
What's up, guys? We're back for another edition of the Collector Moment. Now, before we get started with that, there is someone we are going to bring on real quick to introduce themselves real quick to the group as one of our new mods, along with Tanner. But unfortunately, Tanner could not be here with us tonight. And without further ado, let's welcome on Helmy.
Oh, Helmy.
What's up, Helmy?
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going,
everyone?
buddy? How are
What's
you?
up, man?
You're on the show. Woohoo!
Yeah, no. Thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
What's
Now
going on?
Go ahead, Helmy.
Oh, I was just gonna quickly show, since it's Halloween, you guys talked about Halloween. I picked this up from my last.
Oh, Sadako.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool.
That's fantastic.
Marmot Sadako.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was at the summer festival where we sweated our balls off, Carl. So that was
Yes.
Love it.
Very
Love
hot.
So if you guys in the group don't know, Helmy and Tanner are two of our newest moderators in the group on the Facebook group. We've of course we've gotten a lot bigger. So to help out myself and Ryan and Nick, we wanted to bring on two people with our members that really would like to be involved, and so we were happy to ask Helmy and Tanner to come along with us. Tanner cannot be here because he's at work, unfortunately, but he is equally as excited to be here as well. Now, let's start it off with a little theme little theme week, or I say theme month that we've been having. Thanks to David, we have come up with this new hashtag for Halloween for the getting the season called Kaijuween. So without further ado, let's kick it up with our very first picture. This is a compilation, of course, David giving an example of what to expect. Our Kaijuween hashtag for the month of October.
I love Halloween.
Just some really great classic shots from his past. Really love all these, especially with the pumpkins. It's my favorite probably is the Jack Skellington. And I forget the alternate.
Sibozu.
Man. It fits so well together. It's just a great combination.
Jonathan, you have to mention my title for that photo. It's called "They Are Bona Fide Friends."
They are bona fide friends.
Bum.
Get the hook.
Oh, shut up, Leslie. Shut the hell up. Shut your trap.
Now the next one you'll notice
I love that one.
Familiar face from our group. It's Ryan Wilhelm with his Godzilla from James Groman. I kind of love this composition. You slap a pumpkin on anything, it looks amazing. So I love this. I love what he chose. The orange lighting here,
phenomenal.
Perfect. It's great. Love it. Thank you, Ryan. Wish you could be here, but thank you nonetheless. And next we have
nice.
The Night They Came Home. I'm a big fan of Halloween and John Carpenter in general. So I love that Efren Flores went with this Halloween theme for two of the baddest, right? We got 89, 90, 91, and then we got, I believe that's 91, right? Or is that 89?
That is 91.
It's 91. Okay, I was gonna say. I said 89. I was like, it looks like 91. We're 91 with Michael Myers, and we have, of course, the epic pumpkin intro from the original Halloween with Destroya. So love
just
it.
Validated Leslie's choice right there. Right there.
There you go. It goes hand in hand with this episode.
Love that one.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
Man.
Now, Paul, this is just a fun photo, and I love the whole like aspect
Genius.
of this here. It's genius, like as David said. Need I say more? It's genius. So thank you, Paul, for this. And next we have Mushroom Madness from Taylor Drain.
Yay, Taylor.
Now, there were the few photos in here I wanted to add, but I couldn't add all of them, so I just chose to do the ones with the most pumpkins in them, I should say, or the mushrooms. So we have this little seance going on down below on the left, and then on the right, there it looks like they're going shopping.
They're going grocery shopping.
Very cute. So thank you. Got to keep these coming, guys.
Conjuring a demon, then conjuring breakfast.
Absolutely. Now this one from Venus, the one to the right's really cool. The one to the left is frightening because
it's next level. Yeah, I love it.
In the background
so
and out
good.
of focus.
Yeah.
It's very eerie. It fits with the stare, that weird goofy stare of Shin Godzilla. So
yeah,
I love it.
I am with her.
Venus is amazing. She does such amazing stuff.
Beautiful.
Really does. Really does.
Happy
love her Avatar too.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. This next one, Trick or Treat from Chuck Miskowski. And I love this because it's for the season, you know. It's a little cute. I love it. I just love the whole thing. So
is that are those French fries in there?
Those are little French fries.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I'm like, what the hell is that? French fries?
I hope it's French fries.
Cute.
And next we have Larry L. Latham. I call them the pumpkin heads. I'm not quite sure what they are. You guys
I almost bought one of those a couple years ago.
Yeah, they're from
those are so cool. Yep, that's right.
Incredible. I just love it. And the fall leaves is always a nice touch. I like it.
And you kept the rake in the background.
We love when you take them out into nature.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you for that, Larry. And we have a happy Bioween. I know that Christine, but she's not here, so too bad. So Matt Mayfield, thank you for this. Matt had mentioned this was one of the very in the post he had mentioned this was one of the very first photos he ever took that was Halloween themed with his Sofubi, and so
bravo.
I thought it would be kind of cool to add. That's a nice little detail, and I love it. It's almost looks like a Christmas ornament in a way. I love it.
Very cool.
Now this one's very interesting. It's not necessarily collectible, but it's very cool. It was also another entry from Jared George doing an Inktober, if you will.
Oh, right.
Day one was Kaiju. So
Nice.
He drew his own original kaiju. I just thought that was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, my friends, you have the collector
Outstanding.
moment for October. Thank you everyone for submitting, and thank you for David for the Kaijuine hashtag. And please, guys, we love it when you post really cool photos of your collectibles or what have not in the group. But we love to see all that stuff in the future. Keep posting that stuff, and maybe you'll see yours on the next collector moment.
Fantastic.
The month isn't over. Keep them coming, guys.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah, we're weeks
That's
from
right.
yeah,
We're
Halloween.
only halfway through.
Let's do it.
The month
We've got
is
a long
young.
way to
2
go.
more weeks
Long way to go.
of Kaijuine.
Yeah.
Kaijuine, exactly.
Kaijuine. Groovy.
Helmy, glad to have you on the show way down there in the corner.
Yes.
Like, don't, kind of poke your head up from your nameplate there.
Love that. I love that display you have in the back.
I know. I'm just looking at the great stuff there.
Little museum going on back there. Little VHS.
Silver Surfer and Spidey. I'm loving it.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Everything. It's great.
It's great to have you, Helmy.
Yeah,
You're a welcome addition.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks
You
for
guys are
having
going
me,
to be
man.
really
Like,
surprised to hear this, but Helmy's coming back to Japan at the end of the month.
Oh no, really?
Yes,
I'm
I'll
shocked.
see you, Helmy.
I'm
I'll see you. I'll
shocked.
see you there.
Wait. Let me also say
I'm shocked.
he'll be back for Godzilla's birthday as well.
Oh, okay.
Beginning of next
No
month, so.
way.
Love it.
Get out of here.
You know what? It's just coming from a place of jealousy. I'm so happy for you, but not really.
I mean,
Like,
to be
I'm
fair,
happy
like,
for you. So happy for you.
Yeah, so happy for you.
I'll be happy to see you again, brother.
No, one of these times, my ass will be there when you're there, and you better come when I'm there. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, I'll make the trip.
You better come specifically when David comes.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
I'm
David's
put-
planning a trip to Japan? Tell me, you better be like,
Oh,
okay,
I'm
here
going to be
gonna
in
there for
Zimbabwe
this
that
time.
week. Sorry. No, we just love you. And again, we really have to say, Helmy has been like our number one, like, cheerleader, supporter. You were with us from the very beginning. I remember when your girlfriend contacted us if we could give you a shout out for your birthday. How cool was that? We're like, this guy's awesome. And you've stuck with us, and it's really good to see that kind of support, and we thank you, and we're very grateful to have you.
Absolutely.
And I speak for everybody, even Christine.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that
whatever.
Chem was the reason I kind of survived the lockdown, because I don't know if you guys know, but in Melbourne, we were locked down for almost about 2.5 years. When I say lockdown, you can't leave your house. If you leave your house, you leave your house for an hour to exercise, and that's it. And you can leave within 2 miles. You can only leave within 2 miles. So it was hard, and there was no one else in my house. I was living by myself. So every month, Collect All Monsters was something I really much looked forward to, because there was my interaction with you guys, and so that was amazing.
That's makes it all worthwhile right there.
Yeah,
100%.
Wow.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for being a mod, dude. We were glad to have you on the team for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to kick out some people. No, I'm kidding.
You can start by one on this show, but we'll talk about that later.
Hey, speaking of our group, we're heading to another milestone. We're like rounding out we're like right peak to be almost 3,000, right? Are we getting close to that?
Wow. That's incredible.
That's going to happen really soon. So that's pretty awesome.
Awesome.
Getting close.
Yeah, I love how active the group is. Keep it up, everybody. All right. So, well, thank you for the collector moment, Jonathan and Helmy, and all of the collectors out there. Roxy is already whining at me, so I'm just going to go ahead and say really quickly, if you are interested in being part of our group, we have this URL right here, facebook.com/groups/CAMMC, which stands for Collect All Monsters, Monster Collectors. Please join the group. Make sure to answer those questions and agree to the rules, because those are super duper important. We want to keep the group a fun, safe place for everybody to interact, and that's all I got to say about that. And our next episode will be, our next full episode will be November 9th. We're bumping it up a week to cover some of the Godzilla activities that are happening at the beginning of the month. So we didn't want it to be too stale, so we're kicking it up to November 9th. But please tune in on October 19th, because we're going to have a Super X discussion with helmed by my good friend Mr. Leslie Chambers here.
You know it.
And I know that several of the members here on screen are going to be part of that as well. Looking forward to talking about Toho's Heisei Mecha that gets the spotlight, but not always the biggest spotlight.
You ain't lying.
So there's that. Make sure to tune in on the 9th, and unless anybody has something else to say, I will just kick off with, until next time, our planet may be doomed, our Earth devastated, the monsters are in revolt, and civilization is in chaos. We must unite and collect all monsters.
And yokai.
Gappa, 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 gappa,
Happy
gappa.
Halloween.